We wanted to believe. We wanted to call out. On May 17th, 2001, two sequels to Diddy Kong Racing were launched from E3 in Los Angeles, California. They were called Donkey Kong Racing and Diddy Kong Pilot. Each one carried beloved characters, an ethnically dodgy portrayal of a genie, a stereotypical depiction of a southern bumpkin, and Kiddy Kong, arranged so that our culture may be understood if ever intercepted by a technologically mature extraterrestrial civilization. 13 years after the reveal and subsequent cancellation, rumors of yet another Diddy Kong Racing arose from Kevin Callahan, a sequel that also failed to materialize. After that time, there were no further sequels greenlit, nor are any planned. We wanted to play. In 2004, the studio Climax initiated the high-concept Diddy Kong Racing adventure, an attempt at marrying the best concepts of Diddy Kong Racing with Donkey Kong Racing. Less than 1 year later, first-term Nintendo president Satoru Iwata successfully championed an amendment which terminated the project. I wanted to believe, but the tools had been taken away. Diddy Kong Racing has been shut down. TT hasn't even appeared in Sea of Thieves. They closed our eyes. Our voices have been silenced. Our ears now deaf to the realms of extreme possibilities. No, no, no. Wrong way. Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Dustin Jackson.
Dustin, welcome. Take me to your leader.
Hey, you know what, Hyle? I have a feeling this episode's gonna be out of this world. You like that one, huh?
Oh, that was solid.
I spent the last week thinking of that one.
You should write for Carson.
Maybe I do.
You do etchings on his tombstone. So, hey, if you are listening to your second ever episode of the Kongversation, if the Donkey Konga episode we did last time enticed you, seduced you like a siren song to our shores, and you're like, I'm gonna listen to the regular ones, you know, the ones that the Geek Critique isn't on, the ones where they're not going down this rabbit hole of ditties and washing the spider out, and that's gonna be in your head the rest of the night now that I brought it up, because as annoying as that is, it's infectious, let me tell you. I've been singing ditties all week long, and it's ruined some relationships.
That's okay, Hyle. I've been singing Bingo, the version from Donkey Konga, where they go bingo, go bingo.
So anyway, if you're not familiar with the usual topics of the conversation, you know, we cover the entire Donkey Kong universe. Sometimes we focus on a particular game. Sometimes we focus on a particular series. Sometimes it's more news of the day. And sometimes we take a broader look at the multiple franchises across the DKU. And when we do that, it's usually talking about the Rare Archipelago, the fictional island chain where much of the DKU takes place. Established ostensibly in Diddy Kong Racing that all these islands are kind of clumped together and easily accessible back and forth. So, that's where the bulk of these games take place. But in this episode, we're going beyond. We are going into space, and we're going to be talking about the extraterrestrials of the Donkey Kong universe. And I don't know if it's the whole universe, like the literal universe, or if it's all confined to our galaxy. We're going to get into like how the Atlas works when it comes to the DKU in space, because we've met many the extraterrestrial over the years, but usually never the same type. So it's a question we're going to be asking: does this make sense? How does the ufology, that's UFOology for those of you who aren't crazy people like me, how does that stack up in the DKU versus the real world understanding and concepts of extraterrestrials? We're going to be getting into some weird spaces on this episode,
yeah,
Dustin.
I think there's only I feel like there's only a couple differences between the aliens in these games and the ones in real life.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be arguing, hopefully it's going to get heated, about, if, for example, the Greys appear in the DKU. We're going to be arguing about if the reptilians appear in... No, we're probably not going to go that far, but we'll compare. We'll compare everything. We'll get into where we think these aliens are coming from and what they're doing when they get here.
I can't wait. I've been counting down the minutes to this episode.
But you know what you humanoids, you Earth people, should be doing while you're here? It's checking out DK Vine's Patreon. That's right, DK Vine's Patreon. DKVine.com/Patreon or Patreon.com/DKVine. It's how we keep the lights on. Let me tell you something, Dustin. And by proxy, everyone listening to this. Donkey Kong journalism doesn't pay what you think it does.
Don't say that. You're going to ruin the illusion.
I'm not riding in the back of a limo every day. I'm not eating the vegan caviar. I mean,
You're not melting down gold just for fun.
Yeah, I'm not. Let me relent. I do order vegan caviar, but I don't eat it every day. It's a special treat, all right? So the Patreon is really the only thing keeping the lights on, as I like to say. So if you like the conversation, if you like the content we do, if you just like the idea of there being dedicated Donkey Kong universe journalism, podcast, videos, then check it out. It does mean a lot. I thank every patron we have, past and present, and
you're welcome.
Future.
Whoa!
Hey Dustin.
Like aliens.
Hey Dustin. Give me your money.
All right. I always knew you were a bully.
I want to order some vegan caviar. I can get it here by Sunday.
You know what? I've been bullied out of my money live on the air, but at least I get to be in the DK Vine Minecraft server.
Also, hey, we have a Twitch channel, and I like to plug that because we've been doing like regular streams. It's not just this once in a blue moon like in space. Am I right? It's not just this infrequent thing like it used to be back in the day. we have regular streams on the regular every week.
Every single week?
Every single week, multiple times during that week. We've got DK Vine Done Slow, which is hosted by me. It's me playing the games of the DKU. Horribly, horribly slow. And right now I'm playing Banjo-Kazooie. I just got through Clanker's Cavern, and I spent a lot of time talking about Clanker. So, there you go. If you Clanker fans, we are the content you've been waiting for. DK Vines...
We know there's literally dozens of you.
At least. And, maybe not 24. Maybe it's just a little bit more than a dozen. Maybe 13. Maybe 14.
A baker's dozen.
Maybe 15. Maybe 16. Maybe 17. Maybe 18. Maybe 19. Maybe 20. Maybe 21. Maybe 22. Maybe 23. There might have been a 24th one that died. We'll still count them.
Probably.
So yes, dozens of Clanker fans.
In memoriam of Clanker fan.
Number 24. Yeah, so DK Vine Stream of Thieves, that's Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. BST. That is the DK Vine crew and our friends across the rare fan community setting sail on Sea of Thieves and having adventures. It's a lot looser, it's a lot sillier, it's more lackadaisical. We're just hanging out, basically, and playing a pirate game made by Rare. But it's a regular occurrence, Sundays. And then Tuesdays, we've got the Idaho crew presents. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. BST Wednesday morning. And Dustin, you're part of this Idaho crew. Explain what the Idaho crew is.
Well, it's me and some other friends, Adam, Andrew, and sometimes Tate, and we just kind of pick a random DKU game to play, just whatever we're feeling. We just recently finished up Saberwolf for the GBA. Yeah,
it took you long enough.
Yeah, I know. we kind of forgot how long that game is.
It's long. It's beefy. It's got some bloat, as you might say.
Hey,
because there's the bloater.
Like bloater, I get it.
Yeah. So I've been watching them play on Tuesdays because it's just fun. It's chaotic. They all start yelling at each other. It's fun. It's cute. But they were playing Saberwolf in the most aggravating way. Where, if you've never played Saberwolf GBA, the thing Saberman has to do is he has to use the good creatures he finds and use them to advance in a level in the Wolf's Lair. So, that manifests in a myriad of ways, but there is a, gelatinous bat type creature named Bloater, and they've just been spamming Bloater where they put Saberman in Bloater and float to the top of the screen and barely move, incrementally move inside Bloater. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then Bloater pops as he does. And then Saberman just falls into a baddie and dies.
Yeah, usually there's usually something underneath that makes it not a good idea to do.
It's never a good idea, but it became their running gag.
Yeah, to be fair, before this, I never used Bloater. Before, he just didn't seem that good to use to me. But our good friend Andrew, Special Agent Ape on the forum, he sure loves Bloater. He sure gets a kick out of Bloater.
What we need to do is see if there are dozens of Bloater fans and have some sort of get-together.
I can almost guarantee you there isn't.
Yeah. It's a shame, right? Maybe
there's a Bloater fan, and he is Andrew.
Maybe if we had decided Saberwolf GBA was DKU much earlier than this year, we could have cultivated some Bloater fans over the last 18 years. But alas, life passes you by. Don't look back. Don't be like us. Don't look back with regret at things you have not done, like cultivating an army of bloater fans. No, seize the day. Carpe diem.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't trade all the love Ted the Boat Builder's gotten over the years for bloater love, would you?
No, I wouldn't, but we could share the love. Like,
that's true.
Like one
we
does
gotta be
at an
the
orgy.
change we want to see in the world. We can make the bloater fans exist.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Twitch. check us out on Twitch. You can just get there, dkvine.com/Twitch or twitch.tv, because they have to be clever, /DKVine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for indulging us. Dustin,
Hyle.
We've got not a call, but we've got some sort of rambling message sent to us on Patreon
awesome.
by regular listener and DK Vine patron DJ Cat.
Ooh.
Yeah, so DJ Cat got very excited about this episode when I announced it, and I woke up this morning thinking, oh, well, we don't have any calls yet. Nobody cares. I'm a failure. And then
that's okay, Hyle. You did your best.
And then 10:43 a.m. my time, I get a message, and I'm just gonna read it to you. All right. So
story time.
Let me preface this by saying, DJ Cat, a lot of the stuff you're gonna be talking about, I've already baked into the show outline. So because you're so enthusiastic, I am reading this. Ordinarily, I would just say, well, we're going to address all of this. I'll just thank DJ Cat for writing in and just go from there. But I want to read this best I can. All right. DJ Cat here to talk about the subject of extraterrestrials in the Donkey Kong universe. First up, while any Rare fan would know that Rare love pirates and have been including them in their games for a long time, I would like to point out a period where they love doing stuff about space and aliens. A brief history of Rare's space and alien related moments from 1996 to 2002. First up, Killer Instinct has Glacius, who is most certainly an alien from a distant planet. He has an interesting story, but that's a tale for another day. You also have Gargos, who might be, although it's a bit harder to define, part god, part gargoyle. It's complicated. In 1997, Rare released 3 games that saw you take part in a shuttle launch at some point, and 2 that involved you then going to space via said shuttle launch. GoldenEye has James Bond facing Jaws in the Aztec level, getting the Moonraker laser, and then finishing the level by launching a shuttle. In Diddy Kong Racing, you have the famous Lighthouse shuttle to get to Future Funland. And in Blast Corps, later in the game, you have to clear the path for a landing shuttle before later on getting to launch to the moon and beyond. In 1999, we got Jet Force Gemini, which is a brilliant planet-hopping sci-fi shooter adventure. The year 2000 saw the release of Perfect Dark, lots of aliens, and a visit to an alien spacecraft or 2, and their home planet is involved. Star Fox Adventures from 2002 had plenty more of extraterrestrial ecosystems and species there, as we all know. That's just off the top of my head, and I probably missed some too, but there you have it. Rare certainly were going to infinity and beyond in that era. Now it's time to talk about the planet of Plantain from Donkey Kong Jungle Climber and its significance to the bananas of Donkey Kong Island and the Rare Archipelago. I'd like to refer you to this episode of the Kongversation, episode 428 from 2016. From about the 1 hour, 8 minute mark, Karate Joey calls in with a question about the significance of the banana. I don't know if you want to play a clip here or not, I'm not going to. But basically, the short version of it is that the bananas around the rare archipelago have some sort of magical properties, thus explaining the extra evolution of both Kongs and Kremlings and other species in the archipelago, and their ability to have tech and whatever else. And perhaps this also explains why the bananas are so sought after. So how did the bananas get here, and why are they specifically found only here? The ancient alien theory brought here millennia ago by the inhabitants of Plantain, and the temples and entities left behind in worship and protection of the bananas. Is this the all-encompassing theory that ties all of the DKU together via ancient aliens? Alright, I've gone on a lot, but here is part 3. Just a quick grab bag of miscellaneous ponderings for y'all to ponder. The aliens of Banjo-Tooie, in particular the Jinjo plush being held by one of the alien kids, and the reference to Elvis from Perfect Dark. At least I think they referenced Elvis. Jinjos, aliens or not. There's literally no way to tell. The saucer apparel, as first seen in Witchy World. The Mr. Pants mural on Tallfrit in Jet Force Gemini. I have a theory on this in the DK Vine forum if you want to read my ramblings. Short version, Mr. Pants has been to Tallfrit. Whizpig? Origin story? I have a stupid theory that I expect someone would have shot down over on the DK Vine forum, but rather no one has replied. One of the most fascinating moments, which we will never see, is Tricky and the rest of the Saurian refugees migrating from Dinosaur Planet to Earth. What did this look like? How did they do it? Discuss! Alrighty, that's me done. Thanks for listening to my over-the-top ramblings. This is DJ Cat, over, under, and far out.
Wow. I guess we have to discuss it now.
Yeah, I was just gonna call the episode right then and there. So, hello to Ray Day Pinball, by the way, in the live stream chat. They just got back from the cider store. Some may call it...
Boy, are their arms tired.
Yeah, some may call it a liquor store. I am drinking my regular Kongversation beverage as of late, Bold Rock Hard Cider. Blackberry flavored, because I feel like, being the manly blue collar man that I am, a crisp and tart blend of blackberry and apple quenches my my thirst from a day of hard work in the mines.
I'm not drinking anything, but if I were, just for the occasion, Hyle, did you know that they made Coke Starlight, a drink that tastes like outer space, they say?
They say it tastes like outer space. I saw it aplenty in the store, and I don't drink much soda anymore. But I was curious, but I was like, you know what, I'll get it later. And then later came, and it was all gone, and I can't find it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hyle. We still have it out here in Idaho, but I guess that's what space tastes like. I've never tried it myself. I've only had the soda, so I'm just gonna have to take their word for it.
I've smelled space because I have a Virtual Boy, and the Virtual Boy smells of outer space. What I imagine outer space would smell like, which is foam rubber. Because the visor of the Virtual Boy is foam rubber. If you're not familiar, if you've never played one, and it had this musky aroma, where whenever you would play the Virtual Boy, say what you will about the Virtual Boy, but it is a sensory deprivation experience. So the only senses you've got are, because your eyes are being taken up by the game, the sound you're hearing is being taken up by the game. So the only thing you've got is taste, and you're not eating anything. You're playing a Virtual Boy. So then you got smell and touch, and touch you're using a controller. So then that just leaves smell, and you're smelling the foam visor. And when you're playing Galactic Pinball, you associate that smell with space. So
How immersive.
I mean, I loved the Virtual Boy. I understand it can't be for everyone, especially those who, who have a semblance of color blindness or don't have depth perception. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it doesn't really work for everyone, and also it hurts like hell to play it as an adult. So, anyway.
Yeah, I never played it. I always wanted to, though. I really like that red and black aesthetic, even though looking at it for too long will hurt your eyes. When you look at it for just a few seconds, it's great.
Well, they have the automatic pause baked in, and everybody tells me, well, I never use the automatic pause. Why would I do that? I'm not some sort of wimp. And I'm like, well, you do it because you have to do it, because you'll get sick. You'll give yourself a headache. You'll strain your eyes if you don't take that mandatory break. So,
yeah, that's the real outer space experience.
I mean, space is deadly. I don't want to be in space. All these people.
Yeah, you will get a little sick if you're out in space.
All these people who want to live on Mars, and I'm like, are you shitting me?
I barely even want to live here.
How about we save the Earth first? The Earth has oceans and forests and breathable air and
giraffes,
bold rock, hard cider, Virtual Boys. Mars doesn't have any of
all
this.
the best things.
Yeah. But despite not wanting to go to space, despite the very concept of interplanetary travel terrifying me, I have long been fascinated by space, but especially of the concept of extraterrestrial life. Now, I've told this story before on DK Vine, in various audio retellings, but I'm going to tell it again because it's applicable. I'm going to tell you about the time I saw a UFO when I was a wee little wad. I think I was...
Say what?
When I was a wee little wad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was the part I was wondering about, yeah.
A wee little wad. A wee little Hyle. Oh, look at me. I'm little Hyle. Oh.
Look how marketable he is.
I think I was about 3 years old, maybe 4. I was living... Well, I was living with my parents in South Carolina at the time. This was about a year before we moved to Virginia. And it was a hot, humid swampland. Rockville, South Carolina. If you're familiar with it, if you live there, then hey, this story relates to you. So, we lived in a one-level house, but we had a lot of property on the house. And the backyard extended into... woods. I might be charitable to call it a forest, but I guess to a 3 or 4 year old widow Hyle, it looked like, a massive, majestic forest, and there was a trail that people around the neighborhood could walk in. So we had just access there, and we could take the walk through the forest. So occasionally throughout, the week, my mom and I, around midday might take a walk through the forest. Might have even introduced my love of nature at an early age. Instilled it. I don't know. But there was one particular walk through this woodland that is seared into my memory. So, my mom and I were walking, maybe early afternoon. And just walking along, looking up. And I see what looks like a frisbee. To my child perception, I think somebody threw a frisbee because I see a spinning disc flying through the daytime sky. And I'm like, oh, somebody threw a frisbee. Cool. I like frisbees. And we keep walking. I don't think anything of it because in my limited education and life experience, I've already figured out what this thing is.
Don't worry about it, everybody. It's just a frisbee.
It's just a frisbee. Somebody threw it really high in the sky. Adults can do that. I'm just a child. I don't know any better. So, I don't know. A minute passes, maybe two. I don't know how. I mean, this couple decades ago. I can't give you the play-by-play here, but I look up. I look back up. The frisbee is still in the sky. And then that's when I start thinking, it's probably not a frisbee.
Frisbees aren't supposed to do that.
Frisbees don't stay in the same spot in the daytime sky. In fact, they don't do it in the nighttime sky at all. They fall down is what frisbees do. You usually have to catch them. Maybe a dog jumps up and catches it in its mouth. It's awesome.
The dog missed the memo on this one.
Yeah, where was the giant dog? So that's when I realized that not only is this spinning disc still in the sky, it's directly over me and my mom.
Wow.
And that's when I realized that it's probably not frisbee size. It's probably just really high up in the sky. And I look up at it. I don't know what this is, but I can make out just enough to tell that it is spinning. It's rotating because there's just a slight texture on we're going to call it a craft. All right. I don't know what markings these were. I mean, this is high up in the sky. You know, the sun is kind of making it look black, but I can tell that it's not completely black. There is some sort of something ingrained on it. All right. So I'm getting a little nervous because I'm like, this isn't normal. I've never been told about the flying disc that spin over your head. And we keep walking the trail. And I keep looking up and it's still there and it's still directly over us. And I start getting nervous and I start getting fearful. And I've suffered anxiety and depression my entire life, but when I was this age, I didn't know what anxiety was. So I just knew I was afraid, and I knew that the best way to handle that fear was to not tell my mom that there's a flying saucer over us, because if I told her, that would make it more real. Because if she started panicking, then I would be panicking. And so I decided to play it the best way I could and keep it a secret. Just, Mom, don't look up.
Until now.
Mom, don't look up. There's no alien spacecraft over her. I don't know what it was, but, and she never looked up. She was never as curious as me. Like, I'm always looking all over the place. I'm fidgety. I look around. I pace back and forth. I'm always getting the most out of my surrounding. I squeeze it like a wet rag until I get every drop out. Probably why I do things like DK Vine done slow, and why I'm obsessed with video game lore rather than playing them well. It's just, I like to study and you get the full picture of everything. So that's why, I looked up. Eventually we get back to our backyard and it's still over my head. My mom went inside at one point. She was like, do you want to play in the yard while, I go in, I don't get dinner started or something. And, so I was out there for just a minute or two. I don't even know how long it was. Like, again, long time ago at this point. But I looked up. It was still hovering over my head. And then I'm thinking now this thing is following me. So I just go inside.
Right? You sure showed them.
Traveled however many light years to get here to study humans, but they never anticipated a roof.
Shit, why didn't we think of that when we came all the way out here?
So I feel safe when I'm inside, right? Because at this point, I don't know anything about space lasers. Independence Day was still like a decade away. I eventually, curiosity gets the best of me, and I go to the window up front, in the front of the house in the living room, and I look out. The window is just such so I can look out into the sky over the front yard, and I see it hovering over our front yard. It's now past our house, still up there. And then flash of blue, and it's gone.
Wow.
So that was like a 3 or early 4. That was my close encounter. And I don't know what it was. I'm not saying it was an alien spacecraft. What I am saying is it was definitely a flying saucer. It was a UFO. I saw one, and that gave me a lifelong fascination with the subject. This is not something I would be interested in had I not encountered it. I would probably chalk it up to being, some people, barking at the moon, conspiracy theorists. I wouldn't find it fascinating unless I saw it with my own eyes. And that honestly made me probably more open-minded throughout life, to not immediately dismiss, notions that my elders told me were nonsense.
For me, I never had an experience like that. I have no reason to believe in aliens, but I want to.
Yeah.
Like, where's the joy in just not believing in this stuff? I want to believe in aliens and Bigfoot and the like.
Bigfoot is fun. Aliens
Yeah.
can be fun, assuming, they're not probing you or impregnating you against your will. All the things.
Those ones aren't so fun.
No, they're a bit not so nice. Those ones. But yeah, I mean, like, it makes life. I like mystery in life. I like possibility, even if we never get conclusive answers. All answers do is provide an ending. So I like that I like that there are things in life that always leave us questioning, always leave us searching for more answers, but never quite getting there. It makes it more worth living, I would say. And I know a lot of people might write it off because it provides comfort, thinking this stuff isn't happening. This stuff couldn't possibly be happening. But maybe it is. There's certainly enough documentation. We know governments of the world have been observing it for decades now, over half a century. So, who knows? All I know...
I mean, how could Futurama exist if there was no such thing as aliens, huh? Your move.
Right. Sure showed them, the skeptics.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gave me, especially when I started growing up and being less fearful of that stuff. Man, I would have loved to see a UFO again in the 90s. I've never seen another one, especially, I mean, maybe I've seen one and I didn't realize what I was seeing, like in the night sky, but never one that stark, that blunt. And as the 80s became the 90s, and as the 90s became the mid-90s, there was a renewed fascination with aliens, space aliens, extraterrestrials. They were everywhere by the mid-90s. And, conspiracy culture in the 90s, some of it was just as toxic and evil as it is today. Especially the militia-based conspiracies. But, there was still a lot of fun, frivolous, woo-woo conspiracies that weren't really hurting anybody, including extraterrestrials. And a large part of, I think, the reason it was so big during this time was that as we approached the year 2000, there was kind of this renewed new agey awakening, thinking that the year 2000 was going to usher in some sort of grand enlightenment for humankind, which spoilers, that didn't happen. In fact, we've regressed in some ways, but, just the song calling occupants of interplanetary craft Like, oh, please, space aliens, come to us, show us the way, save us from ourselves. We want to be your friend. And so there was a lot of that. And of course, the X-Files was popular. And I was a huge X-Files fan, as longtime listeners of the Kongversation know. I don't reference the X-Files as much anymore, partially because the revival, the season 10 and season 11 of the X-Files, completely destroyed any lingering love I have for it. And
oh, I'm sorry.
It's kind of like how I don't even like the early seasons of The Simpsons anymore, because the later seasons just made me hate all of the characters and the very concept. and I can't go back and just be like, yeah, but these are the good ones. Just like, no, it's all tainted. I'm sorry.
I could never do that. We here in the Idaho household watch those old ones still regularly, but I get it. I understand.
It's hard, and I still like individual episodes of the X-Files. I still want to like I still want to believe, I guess you could say, but I think Vince Gilligan, who created Breaking Bad and co-created Better Call Saul, he was a writer for the X-Files. He wrote several of the episodes, for 7 years or so. And I think, looking back, maybe I was just a Vince Gilligan fan, because Breaking Bad's awesome. Better Call Saul is awesome. They've never dipped in quality. And Darren Morgan wrote just completely immaculate comedic episodes. Even in the revival, those were the ones worth watching. Anyway, all that being said, aliens were in vogue during this very formidable, very impressionable time of my evolution as a person. So when I think what are the things I'm nostalgic for, the UFO mania of the 90s is something I'm very nostalgic for. And it doesn't come as any surprise that the DKU, which had its heyday, let's say 1994 to 2002, got swept up in the extraterrestrial craze of the day and incorporated it only took 3 years. It took 1997, which was the 50th anniversary of the alleged Roswell, New Mexico incident, the supposed flying saucer crash in Roswell. It was the 50th anniversary in 1997, and that is when extraterrestrials officially made contact in the DKU with Diddy Kong Racing.
What a coincidence.
Well, yeah, so that's interesting, by the way, Dustin. So
thank you for telling me.
No, it's interesting because most people, even if they're familiar with Diddy Kong Racing, aren't familiar with the Diddy Kong Racing manual. And it was 50 years ago that Roswell, New Mexico happened in relation to Diddy Kong Racing. Did you know how long it was, according to the Diddy Kong Racing manual, that anybody had seen Taj the Genie?
Was it 50 years?
Oh, it was 50 years. 1947 was the last documented sighting of Taj the Genie until WizPig showed up in 1997.
I can't imagine living in a world 50 years without Taj. Are you kidding me?
I mean, in my headcanon, or at least, I don't even know if it's a headcanon, I extrapolate from the Diddy Kong Racing instruction manual story that Taj was the proprietor of the island, and then when he disappeared in 1947, Timber's family, the Tigers, they took control of it, and that's where it eventually became Timber's Island. And while they still have control over it, you see Taj returning to prominence at the end of Diddy Kong Racing. He's got his head on the mountain,
Right.
So maybe it's like he has an honorary title at that point, but it makes you wonder, right? Like, is there any correlation between Roswell and Taj's disappearance? Did Wizpig attempt an earlier invasion of Earth? And did Taj stop him? And did they somehow become intermingled? Like, did Taj get locked in his lamp in 1947 in this duel of the fates with Wizpig? There'd be a cool prequel there. Diddy Kong Racing 47, where where finally we learn that Roswell, New Mexico was Wizpig crashing his ship.
Yeah, finally answering the questions everyone's been asking for, showing us what we finally wanted to see.
It's a common trope in sci-fi, though. I think Star Trek Deep Space Nine, they established that Roswell was Quirk, the guy with the swirly Cinnabon ears. He crashed in 1947. Futurama, the aforementioned Futurama, also did the Roswell time travel episode.
Wonderful episode.
So, it's common trope. I'm just saying the DKU's perspective on Roswell, it could very well be Wizpig, or maybe Wizpig's forces. Maybe one of Wizpig's Space Force spaceships crashed in Roswell, and there's a pig man dissected in New Mexico.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that is quite a coincidence. Like, of all the years, 50 whole years.
50. It's such an odd number, too. Like, oh, nobody's seen Wizpig in 20 years. No, half a century. What? And so, yeah, that like jumped out at me at the time, because of course, like, Roswell was everywhere that year, 1997. This was a year after Independence Day came out, and Independence Day actually like introduced the concept of Roswell to the normies of the 90s, like your basic folk who didn't care about any of this stuff, who just watched what was big in
Clueless.
I'm not like, I'm talking about like the middle-aged adults who watched Caroline in the City and whatever was on NBC between Seinfeld and Friends, like it's interesting though, and so that was like clear to me. I was like, is that a reference to Roswell? I thought that when I read the instruction manual, and I still think that. Anyway, Wizpig was the first extraterrestrial being we encountered in DKU, and what a first encounter! What first contact that is! Your first space alien in the DKU is a giant pig wizard fascist warlord.
That's so many things for this character. It's so weird that he's not only an alien pig man, he has to be a wizard too.
It's all over the fucking map, and like they could have picked one. Like, he's a pig wizard. Got it. All right, that's all we need.
Yeah, he didn't even need to. I guess being an alien ties into, future Funland. That's a good way to do it. But he doesn't need to be like this magical wizard. He's an alien. You can just give him like alien technology. He doesn't have to be like a magic pig man.
I think the fact that it's so many things is what puts it over the top for me, though.
It's so good.
Because why can't there be wizards from space? Like, why?
Yeah, wizards aren't only... Earth doesn't claim wizards.
Because too often we like pare down the trope of the invading extraterrestrial to, you are an extraterrestrial, that's all we need. You have technology that seems like magic to us. But that's it. You've got a ship, you've got lasers that go pew pew, but you don't have any other traits. And what I like about Wizpig is he's got technology that goes pew pew, but he also has wizard shit
Yeah, he turned a rooster into a frog.
Yeah, according to the renders, he can shoot lightning bolts from his fingers and burn trees. Like, it's great. He can fly of his own power. He doesn't even need that rocket that he rides around on. He can just fly and levitate himself.
Honestly, I think the race where he's just flying and levitating is harder than the one where he has the rocket.
Oh, it is for sure. Yeah. But I guess he was overcompensating at that point for something. He had already lost too many times to these woodland critters, and he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna strap this very obvious symbolism between my crotch, and we're gonna have another go at it, and I'm gonna feel like I'm a fertile pig genie. So I call him a pig genie. He's not really a genie. He's a wizard, but I guess he could be a genie. Like the contrast with Taj always makes me think of Wizpig in genie terms. He's not really a genie. But
yeah. I when I think of them both, I think they're both genies, but yeah, Wizpig's just a wizard. They never specifically call him a genie anywhere, do they?
No, they don't. And I do think though that one possibility is that if Wizpig attempted this invasion in 1947, maybe Taj forced both of them into his lamp. And so Wizpig did get lamped despite not being a genie. So maybe he's got like some sort of genie DNA now. And so, like, because why was it Timber's fault that Wizpig invaded? If there's an alien invasion in my neighborhood tomorrow, I'm not going to be like, well, this is on me, everyone.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So I never understood that aspect that, oh no, Mom and Dad, put the island in my trust while they're away on Donkey Kong Island having a holiday vacation. And oh no, alien invasion. Like, how about you just call your parents, call like all of the armed forces in the Rare Archipelago, like the Squirrel High Command, the Mole Military, call them all in, get everyone in there and have a go at this problem together. That would be the responsible thing to do, Timber. Not Home Aloneing it, but
let's race them.
What, like my possible fan interpretation is that what if Timber found the lamp and he rubbed it
and let them out of the lamp, and that's why it's his fault.
Yeah, that would be like if I were to bang out a Diddy Kong Racing movie. If I were to bang out the screenplay, you have to make little changes, right, to make it a more workable story for the silver screen. That's what I would do. That would be my big change to the Diddy Kong Racing story.
So you would have that growth for Timber as a character.
Yeah, don't rub things, Timber.
That's the moral of the story. Do not rub things.
Only rub things that you know and that you know want to be rubbed. It's a lesson for all of us in there.
Yeah, we can all relate to that. It was a timely message in 1997.
So, Wizpig, we have actually not only seen Wizpig, but we've seen his planet. It's a rarity. Not every extraterrestrial in the DKU can we say we've seen his planet. But Wizpig we have. Future Funland is not the name of the planet. I don't think it's the name of the planet because it's a stupid name for a planet.
Yeah, who calls a planet, welcome to Future Funland?
Right, like we don't call Earth present hellhole.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if this is Wizpig's planet. I assume if Wizpig's this powerful entity who's trying to conquer Earth, I assume he would be ruling this planet. Why would he call it Future Funland? He just wanted everyone to have a good fun time at this fun racetrack. If I called it Planet Ruled by a Giant Pig Wizard Alien, people wouldn't come. But if I call it Future Funland, then it brings in the dollars.
Well, it does make you wonder, because Future Funland would be I think, TT's designation for the areas of Wizpig's planet in which they race.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Because the only time we hear Future Funland is TT saying, Future Funland.
He just made up that name.
Yeah. Because that's the kind of silly boy TT is.
It's like space, so that's like the future, and this is a fun land. So
plus if TT is from the golden age of piracy, if he was built as this magical stopwatch in the Sea of Thieves, then yeah, of course this is gonna. I mean, everywhere is gonna seem like a future fun land to him, but especially Wizpig's planet.
Yeah, he takes one look at like an alarm clock. Like a Garfield alarm clock, and he says, "Wow, this is from the future."
And then he, asks it out on a date. So
that's the game we need.
You know what? That's how we can get TT into Kitty's kitties, because Kitty could have a cat alarm clock, and then TT is its boyfriend.
This is going to be the best game ever made, and I'm sold just on that.
TT shows up with a bouquet of roses and a box of chocolates. He's like, hi, Kitty, I'm here for my date. And then Kitty turns and licks the cat and goes, meow.
This is a fever dream game. It gets worse every time more is added to it.
So Wizpig's planet, we've actually seen two prominent locations on it as well. Like we've explored like the Dark Moon Caverns in, just Space Dust Alley, which is just, it seems to be very arid, the parts we've been. Like there are palm trees, but it's very craggy and it's got like a lunar type surface. But we've seen Star City, which seems to be a major interplanetary hub. Star City, which is adjacent to Spaceport Alpha. Spaceport. They have spaceports on Wizpig's planet. And that suggests to me that people from other planets visit Wizpig's planet. If they can have a spaceport. At the very least, we know Wizpig has some sort of, I was going to call it Air Force, but I guess, sorry to say the name, it is a Space Force, because he's got the ships that fire on you, in Future Funland.
And they look like pigs.
They got, Wizpig's own spaceship, his own personal craft, does have a pig head, but these also have pig heads. And it raises the question, are all of the denizens of Wizpig's planet, or is the main species of Wizpig's planet also enormous pigs? Or are they smaller pigs? Is Wizpig just an exceptionally large pig? Did he embiggen himself with magic?
Did the oinks come from his planet and settle down on DK Island?
Let's not get silly, Dustin.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to get into the oinks history.
I don't think pigs themselves are extraterrestrial. Like I think just like in sci-fi where human type beings can have parallel evolution throughout the galaxy, I think so too can pigs. Especially when we look at the Lilat system, which we'll discuss later. There's some semblance of parallel evolution. They've got fox-like beings, bird-like beings, hare-like beings, toad-like beings, and pigs, and panthers, and lizard boys, and I'm just listing Star Fox characters now, but you know what I mean, like, but they're all of humanoid proportions, as is Wizpig, right. Which does raise a question if there's a correlation or connection between Wizpig's planet and the Lilat system. More on that later. ... Oh
my goodness!
Now,
can I just say,
yes,
on the topic of Wizpig, this isn't about his planet or anything.
Okay.
I really don't like Wizpig's teeth. In the game Diddy Kong Racing, Wizpig has teeth that are like little nubs that you can see inside of his mouth.
Yeah.
And they make me uncomfortable. I just want to get that out there. Make my feelings known.
I would rather him have little nubs than big, chunky teeth like Donkey Kong does post-rare. Because I don't like the big, chunky teeth. I prefer little nubs. And you know what's great about the little nubs? Is they even included the little nubs on Wizpig's action figure.
Ew.
The one official piece of Wizpig merch that we've had thus far. Released by Toy Biz in, I think, 1999 for their Diddy Kong Racing line, which only consisted of Diddy in a plane, Banjo in a car, and Wizpig on his crotch rocket. He's got the little nubs in his mouth, and it's great. I want to lick each one.
Okay, I mean, you can. I'm not going to take that away from you.
You know what?
Maybe I'm just missing the beauty in those nubs.
You know what? I won't do it now. I won't derail the podcast, but that will be my special treat at the end for a job well done.
You got to work your way up to those nubs.
Yeah, I'll lick each one until the dawn comes. So,
anyway, aliens in outer space.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking about some weird things here, like aliens. Did you know, though, that we have actually seen Wizpig's planet? We've actually seen the whole thing from afar in Diddy Kong Racing.
Wow, I did not.
Yes,
when did this happen?
Yes, you did, Dustin. I told you this when the Idaho crew was streaming Diddy Kong Racing, but nobody seemed very interested with my amazing trivia.
I'm sorry. If I was reading the chat, I would have been super interested, but I was busy carrying those races.
So, there is a ringed planet in the future Funland border. There's a border for each world in Diddy Kong Racing. And the future Funland border is that of a ringed planet. Sort of similar to Saturn. It doesn't look exactly like Saturn. It's like more of a reddish, I think.
Right.
Okay. Did you know that planet is visible in Diddy Kong Racing on Snowflake Mountain?
I did not know that.
Yes.
When is this?
When you race on tracks in Snowflake Mountain, if you look up into the night sky, you will see the red-ringed planet.
Whoa.
Yeah, and now that raises the question. It's like, wait, so you're saying the rare archipelago is not on Earth? It's on some sort of alien planet itself where a ringed planet is visible? No, that's not what I'm saying. So, let's talk about the lighthouse, and let's talk about interplanetary travel. So, what is the lighthouse that shoots you initially to future Funland? My theory on the lighthouse, because this is never explained in the game, my theory has always been that the lighthouse was a pre-existing lighthouse on Timbers Island, just an old lighthouse that Wizpig, perhaps in 1947, at some point reverse engineered as an escape hatch to get back to his planet. So let's say something happens. Let's say that his ship is destroyed. Let's say that, who knows? But he's got to find a way back. He's got it because he built a secret ship programmed back to his home planet in the lighthouse. But how can a stone lighthouse withstand interplanetary travel? Like interstellar travel, where we're going from one solar system to another. How can that possibly occur? Like you're going to be out in the void between solar systems where there's nothing. Well, there's a wormhole. Obviously, he opened up a wormhole above the Earth. And so,
obviously,
that is why the night sky of Snowflake Mountain does not match the night sky of Earth, be it the northern or southern hemisphere. It is because we are looking through the wormhole and we can see Wizpig's planet. So when the lighthouse takes off, it's going through that wormhole and it's going straight to that ringed planet barely withstanding the voyage. And honestly, the lighthouse was probably destroyed upon arriving, because from that point on, there is just this portal that takes you right back to Future Funland. You just drive over the little pad, and it just beams you to Future Funland,
right.
which might have been the doing of Taj. Once the lighthouse was destroyed, he was like, Alakazam, and he made a little portal. So I thought about this a lot, Dustin, as you can see.
Oh, I can see, all right. I know you always think about things a lot.
Yeah, well, especially when it comes to the DKU. Now, the only other thing I have to say about Wizpig and his unnamed ringed planet that is definitely not called Future Funland, until at least we get later on in the episode when we talk about the Lilat system, there is also the possibility, because Wizpig is a spacefaring tyrant who is trying to take over Earth, starting with this racing island full of small mammals and a turtle. There's always the possibility that this ringed planet isn't his home planet, that it is another planet he took over a long time ago, and that his home planet is somewhere else completely.
Interesting. Yeah, I could buy either way. Like, before this episode, I'll be honest, I never really thought of Future Funland as Wizpig's home planet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that just never occurred to me, even though it makes perfect sense that it would be. But yeah, it could totally just be a planet he took over, and he's like, now race me here.
So, I mean, he's clearly got a throne on the planet. But he also, like, because the first thing he did when he took over Timbers Island was he carved his face in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
With the weird face that became a fleshy face as you collected the
I hate
the pieces
that
of the
fleshy
amulet.
face.
Yeah, I asked him.
I mean, I love it, but boy, it is very wiggly.
I asked on Twitter once, what happens? Could you slice off a piece of that mountain face, like the part that became fleshy? Could you slice off a piece of it and fry it up as bacon?
That's right. I'd like to. I'd love to taste how Wizpig tastes. I love the DKU so much, Hyle. I want all of my senses to experience it.
Would it then grow back? Would that be an unlimited source of pork?
Oh my god, you could
Island?
you could end world hunger if there's just endless Wizpig head.
I mean, mindless the faiths and world religions that don't eat pork. Or vegetarians and vegans who would eat, despite it being a self-replicating source of meat, and, you're not doing the real Wizpig any harm by eating this mountain. But I'm sure there's still some ethical concerns about eating a mountain's face.
Yeah, I mean, it is alive, isn't it? Like, it does a fun, evil laugh.
I mean, it does, but can't Wizpig just... I mean, Wizpig sends out those ghostly projections of him.
Oh, that's true.
So, could he just not be controlling this mountain? Like, now laugh. And he wiggles his fingers. He goes, ooh, and
I'll scare you, and now fly into my mouth, and we'll race.
Also, what if Wizpig tried to have sex with his mountain face?
This is a bad episode. Let's start this whole thing over.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know what? He's from outer space. I don't want to judge his customs. Maybe that's just what his kind do. Who am I to judge?
Maybe, you break in the new planet you take over by making a mountain face in your image and then having sex with it.
Yeah, I mean, Wizpig, you do you, I guess.
I
guess that's literally what it is.
Anyway, it's possible. Like, he's definitely got a throne there, but we saw him try to do the same thing on Timbers Island. First thing he did was make the mountain face, which also exists on Future Funland. maybe this future Funland is just another planet that fell under his tyranny, and he's from elsewhere. We don't know.
Yeah, it used to be not fun, and then Wizpig took over it, and now it's future Funland. He did a good job turning things around.
Oh, if only fascism was that much fun, then I wouldn't be worried about anything at all right now.
They put the fun in fascism.
No, there's no.
Yeah. See?
So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Wizpig. Thank you for attending my TED Talks.
You're welcome, but you owe me one.
So, 1998, 1999, no aliens, no extraterrestrials in the DKU. 2000, Banjo-Tooie comes along. And Banjo-Tooie had a lot of weird shit in it, right? Jolly Roger's Lagoon had a lot of weird shit in it. Like, it had space aliens, it had the lost continent, or lost civilization, I guess, of Atlantis. Like,
yeah.
Like a lot of conspiracy culture just brewing off the Isle of Hags here. So, yes, there is a spaceship that crashed in the waters off Jolly Roger's Lagoon, off the Isle of Hags, and it is a flying saucer, perhaps quite like the one I saw back in my early days. And there are actually 4 adult aliens in the spaceship, but only 3 are named. But
what did that last one do to not get a name?
I don't know. It's really weird. They don't list it in the credits. They list the other 3, and I think they forgot they had a 4th one in there.
That's so funny. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, so I'm disappointed in us in DK Vine that we've never given a fan a name for this one. And it should be hard to do, considering they're named Alf. I guess it's Betty or Betty, but it might be Betty, like similar to Betty, but it's Beti, and Gamo. So, just Greek letters,
right.
Wouldn't be hard to come up with a fan name for the 4th. But these are bulbous head, greenish aliens, extraterrestrials. And they are very similar to the classical depiction of the gray aliens that we're all familiar with in pop culture. The head itself is just iconic. Even if you don't follow ufology, you are familiar with just the standard alien look. It really became in vogue in the 90s, but it originates further back from that. Actually, it comes from the 50s and 60s, and there's argument like, if they don't exist, how did we arrive to this point where this is what in the popular imagination extraterrestrials look like? There's a lot of interesting back and forth about that, but yeah, they're grays, and I think this is the DKU depiction of what grays are look like in the DKU. That's my interpretation.
I think so too. I know you wanted us to kind of argue and have a heated debate, but no, I totally. What else could these things be?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have the bulbous head look down. The eyes aren't completely black like grays are reported to be. They've got more yellowish eyes, but that's fine. They don't have to look exactly like grays.
Yeah, they're their own kind of grays.
But they operate very much like grays are supposedly, act when they abduct humans. They're very cold and clinical and cruel at points. And And we don't know what their purpose is on Earth. That's never really established, right? What they were doing on Earth. They were just doing a routine mission to Earth, maybe abducting humans, but then they crashed in the waters off the Isle of Hags in the Rare Archipelago, which is interesting because there is the lost civilization of Atlantis just right next to where they went down. And, you know, there's a lot of crackpot theories. Atlantis, as we know it, probably didn't actually exist. It was probably a metaphor. But as far as the DKU is concerned, Atlantis definitely existed. It existed off the Isle of Hags, and it was a contemporary rival to the Kremlantis Empire, which was the Kremlin's massive seafaring empire of antiquity.
I love the idea of two sunken civilizations, and they're just like competing sports teams.
Yeah, I mean, there was I think Atlantis was first, and then the Kremlins were like, all right, Kremlantis! What now? Huh?
We can do it better than you.
Yeah. And then that is interesting too, because in the Atlantis ruins, and this is an entirely different episode, but they've got the mermaid statues in Atlantis and Banjo-Tooie, and the mermaid statues are identical to the mermaid in Donkey Kong 64.
Wow, there's so many connections.
So it like, were the Atlanteans allied with the merfolk? And in fact, Seabreeze Cove and Tropical Freeze, it's also this like ancient sunken kingdom with like advanced technology and magic. But if you notice, it's designed for beings that already live underwater. It's got like the tunnels and stuff that you swim through, which makes me think Seabreeze Cove is where the mer people are from. And
I like that headcanon.
They allied with the Atlanteans of antiquity against the Kremlins of Kremlantis. And then, I'm not going to get into Emotep here. Don't worry, Dustin, but Emotep...
I was sweating over here. I was kind of like, oh, geez, it's coming, isn't it?
Emotep definitely played a part in this. So... but there are theories like, oh, were the Atlanteans, were they, ancient aliens, the aliens guy, aliens,
yeah,
the big haired guy. It's a trope, but there's a lot of discussion in that community, the ancient aliens community, about Atlantis and all these ancient civilizations. By the way, while we're on the subject of ancient aliens, because I know everyone here loves them some ancient aliens, the one documented sighting or confirmation of ancient alien activity in the Donkey Kong universe was actually in Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Now, a lot of people play that game and they walk away with this impression that maybe Ghastly King / Cactus King, they are aliens or something's going on with extraterrestrials. Well, that's mostly picked up on from the tubes. Yes, tubes. The tubes that transport Donkey Kong throughout the faraway lands. And they are these tubes with the head of a dragon. And... of course, Jungle Beat sort of climaxes in the Starfruit Kingdom, which does take Donkey Kong into outer space. And so my theory when I was playing the game were these dragon tubes are actually space dragon tubes that were put there by an advanced extraterrestrial race that had visited the faraway lands long, long ago. And it turns out that might actually be the developer's intent. One of the few things that holds true in the original Japanese canon of the game and the much more lackadaisical Western interpretations of it. So whatever happened to the space dragons, we don't know, but where they came from, we don't know. If they, if they collapsed sometime thereafter, if they are from the Lilat system, that would be a cool connection, especially with Dinosaur Planet and the original lore therein. But for now, we don't know anything about the space dragons except they visited the Rare Archipelago, the faraway lands. They built some sort of gateway or wormhole to what the denizens of the faraway lands, the little capuchin party monkeys, what they designated as the Starfruit Kingdom. So, yeah, space dragons. Where was I? Greys, the Atlantis, Greys in Atlantis, Greys that crashed in Atlantis, right? So the fact that these, we'll call them Greys, just for a lack of a better term, these Greys crashed right off the coast of where Atlantis went down, makes you wonder if, maybe they were doing a checkup on Atlantis. Maybe their civilization had prior contact with Atlantis, or maybe something in Atlantis caused them to crash.
Yeah, I was going to say, what if there's just something in that general part of the world that made both Atlantis sink and a spaceship sink?
Yeah, so anyway, I just think that's interesting. Again, this is just all stuff you can infer. And that's what I love about the DKU and how Rare operates, is they layer their games with this stuff, but they never provide a definite answer, allowing weirdos like me to come in and be like, "Oh, hey, this, and this, they're all connected. Let me do a multi-hour podcast and explain to you how."
Yeah, I guess that's why the Kongversation is still around. At first glance, it seems like you would have run out of material for these episodes a long time ago, but nope, there's still stuff like this. There's gold in them thar oceans.
There's gold that I melt down for fun because I'm so rich. I'm so
Mr.
rich.
Rockefeller.
I melt it down and I pour it over my nipples. I'm like, look at me, I'm high.
I love gold.
Oh, you ruined it. So, do you know where Greys come from, Dustin?
Space.
Oh, you got me there. No. Do you know where in space they supposedly come from?
I do not.
They supposedly come from Zeti Reticuli. I've never actually said it out loud. Zeti Reticuli. They are Zeti Reticulians. So this is a binary star system in the constellation of Reticulum, which is visible in the southern hemisphere faintly. But this comes from the Barney and Betty Hill abduction. This is one of the most famed alleged alien abductions in history. Barney and Betty Hill, they were a couple who were supposedly abducted by what we like they described as Greys. This is one area where our the first depiction of the Grey in the 20th century came from. And when like the Greys showed them all of this stuff and showed them a star map of where they came from, and I think Betty Hill replicated it and didn't know what she was drawing, and then somebody took what she drew and compared it to the night sky and said, "Yeah, this is in Reticulum." So Zeti Reticula is where Greys allegedly come from, and I think that's good enough for me. That's where the Banjo-Tooie aliens obviously came from.
Is that where Barney and Betty Rubble got their names?
Oh my god, I hope not. That's weird. I never thought.
Wow.
I never made that connection.
That was the first thing I thought of when I read Barney and Betty. I stopped after that and I said, oh, rubble. Wait, hill? Wait a minute.
I'm looking this up right now because in popular culture, let's see. All right, nothing about the Flintstones. But you know what? We're going to put that in the Mamie file.
Yeah, undisclosed.
Anyway, look it up. That's a whole interesting story in and of itself. But the Banjo-Tooie aliens are interesting because they also have children. And I say this is interesting because a lot is baked into the Grey mythology, that the Greys are not able to reproduce through biological means. They have to reproduce through science, either because of cloning or whatever. They have been rendered completely sterile, so they have to reproduce through genetic means, and that is why they're abducting humans, is to do all sorts of stuff on them, put their alien DNA in our wombs, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, all they have to do is ask.
Yeah. You know, there's so many thirsty people online who would love to bang a Grey, medically, that is. Yeah, so the fact that they have alphabet, beta, and gamut, it raises some questions. Where did they come from? Did they come through scientific means? Are they alien-human hybrids? I don't know. Probably not. They just look like smaller versions of the adults, but the one Grey child has the little Jinjo plush. So,
ooh, we're getting into it, huh?
Well, yeah. So, of course, the episode that Malik and I did month or two back, the bestiary Jinjos, we brought this up. We said, obviously Jinjos are from Spiral Mountain, as established by Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. But do they have an origin in the stars? Are they actually originally from outer space? And this was so long ago, they don't even remember it. But during the 90s, there was a lot of correlation between the Chupacabra, the famous Mexican goat sucker, who the little creature who goes around and sucks the blood out of livestock and other animals, and aliens, because a lot of the Chupacabra sightings of the era resembled Grey aliens. Mm-hmm. And this was before people just decided Chupacabras just look like mangy coyotes. So there was this theory that maybe the Chupacabras were like the pets of the Greys who got out of the spaceship. This was seriously being bandied about in the 90s. They're probably Grey pets who got out. Maybe a Grey was walking one and the leash broke. It saw a squirrel or something and ran away, and they looked for it, but they had to leave. And maybe the Chupacabra was already pregnant, and it had a litter of Chupacabras in the south.
Anything that could go wrong in this situation did.
Yeah. So it was in Mexico and the American Southwest, and they, before we knew it, we had a whole just invasive species problem of Chupacabras. It happens, right?
Man, it's always a sad story, someone losing their pet.
I know, it's heartbreaking. I don't like to think about it. It makes me want to hug my dog, but that's just a nonsense theory. And I don't even think like I think all of the stories about chupacabras looking like greys has been debunked. I say that though, but the File 2 Productions mascot is a gray chupacabra. I'm looking at the little model on my desk right now. And in fact, Enrique, our mascot, who you hear at the end of most episodes of the Kongversation, that's what he is.
Love that little guy.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing a chupacabra at the end of our lovely podcast most weeks. But do you think Jinjos were a gray pet that escaped the ship long ago during one of their earlier trips to, I don't know, Atlantis, the rare archipelago, and a whole litter of Jinjos got out around Spiral Mountain, and that is where Jinjo's civilization...
It's possible. It never really occurred to me that that's how it would be, but it's totally possible. What I thought it was Jinjos kind of had their own thing going on, and they're just so cute that this gray alien child just had a doll of it. She's like, buy me the Jinjo toy. I want the Jinjo toy. Because Jinjos... Do you think Jinjos are the outer space minions?
Or like Grogu?
Yeah, exactly. They were just like really huge. Maybe the Jinjo program never made it to Earth, so when the Jinjos came to Earth, they just they just blended in naturally with the ecosystem.
It's possible. The only thing is Jinjos like seem to have no knowledge of this, and maybe it was buried over the generations, right? Like maybe King Jingling was made aware, like when King Jingling became king, it's like, all right, we're gonna give you the file, we're gonna give you the king's secret book on Jinjo history, and he's like, we're from where now? But there are no, like, you would think like this isn't Battlestar Galactica. They didn't throw their spaceships in the sun and be like, we must never pass down the knowledge that we were a spacefaring civilization. So, personally, I like to think that if there was a connection with the Greys, the Jinjos were left behind, and that's why they never left Earth, is because they had no means to leave Earth. But I don't know. But it is fun to think, hey, maybe Jinjos are also from Zeti Reticuli.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm 100% on board with that, like, specific theory. I could be, like, if they came out and said that's how it was, I'd be like, okay, cool. But I do love the idea that Jinjos are from space.
Yeah, and of course, I think Malik and I even, like, overlooked this when we were doing our episode, but in Witchy World, you know, Gruntilda has the freak show attraction, and she labels the Jinjo in the cage weird killer alien. And does Gruntilda know anything? Probably not. This isn't like Gruntilda having any arcane knowledge. It's probably just one of those coincidences that plays as the level of subtext, like tipping two things tip the hat and Banjo-Tooie to Jinjos being from space. That's the other thing. And then if you put them together, you're like, oh, it's a clue. It's a clue. You know, being a Beatles fan, I have this long laundry list of why Paul McCartney was replaced in 1966. He didn't die like people think. That's nonsense. He was replaced by a doppelganger that he worked with behind the scenes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, well, there are only, like, 2 things that point to Jinjos being from space, but that's still 2 whole things. That's 2 more than there were beforehand.
I have to tell you, Dustin, that's more things that point to us being from space, so...
Oh, that's true. I guess Earth is in space.
Oh, shit, you're right. I have to tell you, you know, that encounter I had with the UFO, sometimes I think, did they abduct me? Did they replace me with a doppelganger, much like Paul McCartney?
You're Hyle 2.0?
Yeah. Is this the fact that I'm so weird down to me being a robot?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's what I've been thinking for a while.
It's fine.
You were giving off some robot-esque qualities, but that's fine. That's why we go to the website.
It's fine. I like me.
Yeah.
And the natural born, the real me who was abducted and taken away, he probably would have grown up to be a monster. I mean, fuck him, like, I hope he's dead.
They did the world a favor by bringing in... They took one look at Hyle 1.0 and said, no, this'll never do. Here, we'll give you a better one that's going to enjoy video games about gorillas and bears.
No, wrong way. It's something the new Hyle will say quite a bit, but just
I would love if Hyle's evil twin came down and fought for Hyle's place on Earth. I'm sure you wouldn't like that, but I think it would be a nice twist.
That would be a good twist for a later Kongversation season. Like, that would be a good cliffhanger, and then you and Cameron and Jeff, you're between the two of us. It's like, don't shoot him. I'm the real Hyle.
I don't know which one to shoot.
Yeah. I hope that happens, man. That's exciting. So
I'm sorry I got your hopes up.
the Greys did come back in Nuts and Bolts, the Terrarium of Terror.
I was thinking that this entire time because earlier today I was like, I know Hyle's going to want to talk about the ones from Tooie, but what about the ones from Nuts and Bolts?
Well, they're the same ones, weren't they?
Yeah, they're just like in a stasis. They're in a cryo sleep.
Which makes you wonder, like, because so much of Nuts and Bolts, it's hard to parse out because the Lord of Games is just manipulating everything. And, like, this came up during my stream yesterday, or not yesterday, but earlier in the week, where I was talking about Banjo-Pilot and its relation to the continuity, because Clanker is obviously in Banjo-Pilot, and there's a big aspect of Clanker and his fate in Banjo-Pilot post Banjo-Kazooie that's established there. And I was like, well, Banjo-Pilot is canon, even though its placement is debated. And somebody said, yeah, but it's Nuts and Bolts canon. I was like, well, yes, Nuts and Bolts is canon. Absolutely, 100% it's canon.
Of course.
But a lot of Nuts and Bolts can't be taken at face value because everybody is like going through the hoops by log, and they're playing roles, they're not being themselves, and so there's this level of artifice over everything for the majority of Nuts and Bolts. So it's kind of hard to figure out what it can be accurately ascertained. And I think like the Greys are one of them, because it's like, are they in like cryosleep because they were on an interplanetary journey and this is the cryosleep they go on? Or did Log put them in cryosleep? Either way, he snatched them up for the Terrarium of Terror. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
They could also just be props. If Log made these worlds, he just could have said, you know what? I'll make some aliens out of styrofoam and call it good.
I don't like that, though, because
I also don't like that, but it is a possibility.
Like, I am not anti-Nuts and Bolts, right? I am pretty positive when it comes to Nuts and Bolts, but one aspect I do not like about Nuts and Bolts is that artifice. It's just that
same.
You're just in these domes. Nothing seems to really matter. It's just so antithetical to what I love about Rare games.
Same, totally.
Yeah. So, at very least, give me the aliens. Give me the Greys.
Come on, give me the aliens.
So, those are the big ones. I would say, like, Wizpig and the Greys from Tooie are, like, the biggest encounters during the Rare era with Nintendo. There is another so-called alien in Conker's Bad Fur Day, but this is much more disputed. And I'm of course talking about Heinrich, the xenomorph, the very obvious xenomorph parody at the end of the game. So the question when it comes to Heinrich, who, by the way, I should point out, is named after Heinrich Himmler, the famous Nazi, because of course the professor is a parody of Dr. Strangelove, who not Doctor Strange, aka Benedict Cumberbatch, from off of the Multiverse of Madness, but Doctor Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Bomb, the classic Stanley Kubrick movie from the 60s, Cold War era classic flick. But Doctor Strangelove was an ex-Nazi scientist brought to the U.S. Operation Paperclip, and the Professor with his teddies is kind of a play on Doctor Strangelove, among other inspirations for just the crazed Nazi scientist. And Heinrich, his end game when it comes to the Panther King is named after a Nazi. So back when, we made jokes about Nazis, so we didn't think Nazis were going to be a problem 20 years down the line. Oops. Oops, all Nazis. So
No!
Man, get that out of my cereal bowl, let me tell you. So, Heinrich, real extraterrestrial or no? I want to hear your thoughts on this, Dustin.
That's it. That's very interesting. I want to say no, just because it was... Well, I don't know. Maybe the professor got, like, an alien from space and somehow put a little baby alien fetus inside of the Panther King.
For those of you who aren't Conquer aficionados, the professor, there's a whole... I'm not going to get into the Milk Wars.
It's this whole crazy thing.
It's so convoluted and contradictory, but basically... The professor is the subjugated assistant to the Panther King. May have been the Weasel King. Lost his legs, and he's plotting against the Panther King. He wants to overthrow him and reclaim the throne. And he eventually does this, albeit very temporarily, by putting a xenomorph in the Panther King. I think it's implied that he put it in his milk, and so when the Panther King drank his milk, he ingested the xenomorph, and it grew inside of him, a la the Aliens franchise, and burst out of his chest, killing him. And then Conquer had to fight Heinrich. And the only thing we have to go on that it may be a real alien is the computer voice in the bank vault when Conquer is facing off with doing the Super Mario 64 tail swinging thing. The robot voice says, "Throw the alien out the airlock," or whatever. But it's very clearly modeled after the xenomorphs from the Alien franchise, which to me suggests that the professor just created one in his lab based on the Ridley Scott, James Cameron movies.
I could see that. It is interesting how it's just straight up a xenomorph. Right. As a little kid playing this game, I shouldn't have, but when I was a wee tyke, it never struck me as weird that they could just have this alien from the Alien series here. Now, as an adult, I'm like, how the hell did they just get away with this? And I think that's why it's blue in Live and Reloaded.
Oh, yeah, that should really fool the lawyers.
Can't get us now. Are xenomorphs blue? Thought so.
Yeah, I think it was just Chris Seaver and crew and Rare thinking, this is the end of the game. Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody's gonna play this. It's fine. Yeah, I was just talking about it with Cameron when we were discussing the Fangamer merch, and it was like, we're getting the Great Mighty Pooh. We're probably never gonna get Heinrich, because it's just a xenomorph. It's just a xenomorph.
That's true. That does kind of suck. I'd own a Heinrich toy.
Well,
that makes noises when you squeeze it.
Probably we wouldn't get one because it's just a xenomorph and it's named after a famous Nazi.
Those are both good reasons, yeah.
Yeah, probably why we're also not going to get us a professor is because his full name is a slur, and he's a Nazi.
That's true.
Fangamer was like, yeah, let's just go with the giant mound of shit.
Somehow that's the most marketable one of these characters.
It's the safest route when it comes to the Conquer cast. Yeah, when we're going to do a villain from Conquer, let's go with the
Guess
shit.
it's gotta be the pile of shit.
Yeah. I don't think it's a real extraterrestrial. I think the professor created it in his lab based on the movies, and it's just a straight parody. I don't think there are real xenomorphs running around in space in the DKU.
I think that is the best way to look at it too. Just since he's a professor, he does crazy wacky science, it totally ties into who the character is. It makes more sense for him to just create an alien than it would be for him to just go out in space and get one.
You're right, yeah. And we could talk about future war and the fact that, the Teddies do go into space and the conflict between the SHC and the Teddies, does become interplanetary in the future.
Yeah.
But at that time, in that era, I don't think, unless an egg was in a meteor, and the professor found it, and there's lots of workarounds there. The trope of Nazis, hunting for religious artifacts and stuff from the gods, and maybe there is this xenomorph embryo, layered into that, but it's probably just easier to say no. No.
No, don't worry about it. It's one thing to say, like, oh, he made this in a lab because he's a scientist, but it's another to say, oh, he went on this crazy adventure where he found an alien in a meteorite.
Yeah. And granted, I would be all about exploring that, if we got... Yeah. We're getting Sea of Thieves novels by Chris Alcock. I would love to see Chris branch out into other areas of the DKU. Write us that Conquer novel prequel about the time.
I would 100% read a Conquer, like any sort of Conquer extended media.
The times the professor found an alien embryo.
Bet you didn't know.
Yeah, that would be number one on the bestseller list.
I want a book about Bert.
I'm just imagining that announcement. It's just like,
we've heard your demands.
Like 3 retweets, one from DK Vine, one from Gibbon. One from you. Actually, 4. I guess the Conquer for Smash campaign on Twitter would retweet it. That's it.
That's what I want most. That's on my wish list.
All right. Well, let's leave Conquer behind. Surprisingly few aliens in Conquer, considering all the areas Conquer goes. I guess we would have seen aliens in Conquer's Other Bad Day, but not canon. Didn't happen. So,
yeah.
Let's move on to a game that's near and dear to everyone's hearts. It's Mr. Pants. You might be thinking, if you haven't played It's Mr. Pants, despite me just saying it's near and dear to your heart, everyone who's listening to this, how the hell were there extraterrestrials in It's Mr. Pants? Well, there was pretty much everything in It's Mr. Pants. That's why it's so great. So in the art you unlock throughout It's Mr. Pants, you get little slices of life. Little pieces of what Mr. Pants gets up to when he's not hosting the television show It's Mr. Pants, or when he's not running his fashion empire, his mail order underpants catalog, or he's not modeling the underpants himself, or he's not hosting his first show where he just dances in his underwear for like an hour, which is what Boggy is watching in Banjo-Tooie. We get little pieces of Mr. Pants' domestic life.
It turns out he's a regular guy just like us.
Well, he's a regular guy who fathered a child with Mrs. Pie. Mrs. Pie, who is married to Mr. Pie. Mr. Pants impregnated her. And it was totally cool, though, because Mr. Pie was like, well, it's Mr. Pants. What am I going to do? You know
I'm not
what?
just going to say no to Mr. Pants. Did you see that show he had where he danced around?
Yeah, so Mrs. Pie has a son, Toby Pie, who is Mr. Pants' biological son. And Mr. Pants and Toby, they have quite the relationship. It's quite the healthy relationship, considering the unconventional nature of their family unit. And one of the things Mr. Pants and Toby Pie did, quality father and son bonding, is they made a homemade rocket in their backyard, and they shot themselves to the moon.
As a father and son would do.
Wow. I one time my dad and I, we shot off a bottle rocket behind the house. This was a different house than the house where the UFO stalked me. This was when I lived in Virginia. So there's no worry that I was going to shoot a bottle rocket up into the UFO and start some sort of, interstellar war.
Man, imagine that timeline.
So, yeah, they go to the moon. And while they are on the moon, by the way, of course, Mr. Pants, the first thing he does on the moon is he puts a pair of pants on a flagpole, red Y fronts, and he puts it on the moon.
Of course.
Yeah. But while on the moon, he meets a little green man. And the little green man apparently had a robot sidekick. And so what Mr. Pants does upon making first contact with this extraterrestrial race is he put a pair of red Y fronts on his head and named him Pluto Pants.
You are now Pluto Pants.
And then the little robot, the giant robot, also put red Y fronts on that, called him Robo Pants.
Wow, Mr. Pants is really persuasive. And
this didn't cause an interplanetary incident. This didn't, lead to the annihilation of Earth. Turns out, Pluto Pants loved it. And they... Pluto Pants and Mr. Pants and Toby Pie and Robo Pants, they got on famously on the moon.
I'm so glad. Imagine how bad that could have gone, but instead they were like, we love these pants!
Considering Mr. Pants is just a guy who can impregnate somebody else's wife, and it'd be totally cool. And Mr. Pants just gets even more beloved after that. Like, it's not a huge celebrity scandal in Pantsland. You'd think it would be, on all the tabloids, no, it's just like, oh, that's Mr. Pants. That's what he does.
Mr. Pants for you.
And, no, Pluto Pants also fell under his charms.
He brought about peace to a different planet.
Now, you're familiar with Pluto Pants, right, Dustin?
Oh, I'm familiar with him. I'm looking at him right now on my phone.
Did you just Google Pluto Pants?
No, and you want to know why, is because if you Google Pluto Pants, you don't get anything.
I'm testing out that right now.
I just looked up "It's Mr. Pants" because I knew he was in one of the promo artworks for it.
Hold on, so there are plenty of clothing outlets selling things called Pluto Pants, but it's nothing like the great Mr. Pants character, Pluto Pants. So, yeah. Anyway, he's got his own little spacecraft. It's just like his own personal spacecraft. For one, I guess he
just sticks right out of it.
Yeah, I guess somehow Robo Pants comes along, but Pluto Pants is not a gray. Pluto Pants, he's got little antenna sticking out of his head, right? He's also got little elfin ears. He's similar looking in some biological sense, but he has a different species. He's closer to the little green man archetype popular in the 1950s. Which,
yeah, he's like the Great Gazoo.
Yeah. I don't think it corresponds to anything in actual ufology or alien mythology, but he is just straight out of the retro futuristic sci-fi of the post-World War II era. And probably not from Pluto, let me just say. I feel like Pluto Pants was just Mr. Pants saying, I dub you Pluto Pants. Like he's being knighted. Like, this is your moniker. This is what I'm gonna call you. They probably didn't even speak the same language, but they just communicated through the sheer love of red wyverns. I love this. I love this story. This little implied meeting between Earth and whatever species Pluto Pants belongs to on the moon with Mr. Pants and his bastard son.
Yeah, it's not like this big, crazy story. Oh, we met this advanced alien civilization. He just meets an alien and gives him pants, and then he wears the pants.
Yeah, and then they have fun, and then Mr. Pants plays golf on the moon.
What a story.
This is just the kind of shit Mr. Pants gets up to. And this is why you need to play It's Mr. Pants, because the story will unfold for you. Oh, the stories Mr. Pants can tell. So yeah, I don't know where Pluto Pants comes from. The fact that Pluto Pants was scouting our moon, he's probably just, an explorer from somewhere. I don't know if he comes from our solar system or not. Who knows? He's probably from elsewhere. The fact that he looks similar, he's got the yellow eyes similar to the Zedi reticulans from Banjo-Tooie, might suggest from their neck of the woods, but
maybe they don't have ears though. This
they don't
guy
have
has
ears.
Or antenna.
No, I'm not saying he's from their planet.
Okay,
I'm
but
just
you think
saying,
he might be around those, somehow related?
Yeah, like chipmunks are kind of like squirrels. You see them in the same place.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of Pluto Pants in that way before.
He's the chipmunk to the Zedi reticulan squirrels.
Hyle, I don't get how people got around before this podcast.
They were just sitting on the floor, spouting gibberish, drooling, because they didn't know how to deal with the complexities of modern life. All of these extraterrestrials in the DKU. They needed someone to come along and show them the way.
We're all so very thankful that you showed us the way with Pluto Pants.
I fucking love Pluto Pants, Dustin. I'm not gonna lie.
I do too. I've played a very small amount of It's Mr. Pants. I know I need to play more, so I never got to that fun little heartwarming story. But just looking at him in this artwork, I love Pluto Pants. He's just having fun.
Can I just say,
he's just in this little spacecraft.
Have you done It's Mr. Pants on the Idaho crew yet?
We've talked about it. Maybe we'll have to do that this week.
It would be a treat and a half.
You know what, Hyle? I'll put in a good word with the upstairs. I might be able to talk him into it.
But I really want you to discuss the lore that unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so down. Like I said, I've only played a little bit, but I love everything about it.
So, up until now, we've only discussed creations from Rare. Rare brought us the most extraterrestrials across the DKU. But leave it to Payon, those great fans, those great admirers of Rare's work. When they developed their 3 Donkey Kong games, it was DK Jungle Climber that Payon got to put their own stamp on the interstellar story of the DKU. And I'm of course talking about one of I'm not going to say this is everybody's favorite Payon era character, because I know a lot of people love the Kremlings that were introduced in DK the barrel blast.
That's it.
Barrel blast. I was like, barrel racer? No. Barrel rider? No, that's the Hobbit. Jet race is what it was called in PAL territories. No. Because barrel blast it's such a weird name because you're not actually doing much barrel blasting in it.
Yeah, don't you just have to like ignite them the one time for their bongo cars to go?
Yeah, like you've got the bongo belts that are jet powered. I guess they're
those aren't barrels. Yeah, and then you barely blast out of barrels in the game. Like you do a few times.
Yeah, but
it's not like a major gameplay component.
So even though I do this for a living, I study Donkey Kong and the DKU for my career, because I am an alien replacement. I forget the name of that game on occasion. It just falls out of my head because it doesn't seem like it should be the name of the game because it doesn't add up. King of Swing, that makes sense. Jungle Climber, sure, why not? Barrel Blast, especially because before it was released, it was being called Donkey Kong Jet. And so, like, to me, like, that was a cooler name. Donkey Kong Jet. Yeah, man. Donkey Kong Jet. And then it became Jet Race everywhere else, but in the Americas, it was Barrel Blast.
I guess it's because their little flying apparatuses, are those meant to be barrels?
They're meant to be
like, are those barrel rockets?
Well, they're like bongos, but even the DK bongos look like barrels, so it gets yeah, I don't know, because originally it was going to utilize the DK bongos, and that's how you raced. You hit the bongos, and and then they moved it to the Wii, and they used the nunchucks, and so but they still had the bong. Anyway, we're not really going to talk much about barrel maze. No, that's Barrel Blast. No, we're going to talk about Jungle Climber first, because Xananab people love Xananab. I think Xananab.
I love Xananab.
I feel like Xananab. He might not be everybody's favorite Payon era character, but I feel like Xananab is one of those characters that he feels like he could be a rare character. It's that seamless. We talked some shit about Professor Chops on our Juicy Jungle episode recently. And part of that is just Professor Chops doesn't feel that much like a rare era character. He's missing something, some essential weirdness. And Xananab has that.
You don't get much weirder than an alien that looks like a giant banana.
Looks like a giant banana and talks in a dialect that is based on the Banana Fana song.
What? Who came up with this?
I love it. And also, why wasn't that song in Donkey Konga instead of Diddy's Ditties?
Yeah, if you're just gonna have like songs for little 2-year-old children anyway, have one that actually has bananas in it.
Yeah, I would like Chuck, Buck, Banana Fana. Oh! That's why I didn't go to kindergarten with anybody named Chuck. They were like, "What? Your name's..."
I'm not gonna chance that shit.
So many Chucks tried to go to kindergarten with me, and then they were like, "Sorry, you can't be in this class. We're gonna do the banana song."
You're too young. Maybe next year, pal.
No, they kicked them out, and then they led a life of crime.
Oh, no.
That's why all the Chucks I know are in prison.
Oh, geez. It's a cursed name.
So, Xananab is just an alien banana. Like we've had. I mean, there's no way around it, Dustin. We've had alien. We've had extraterrestrials in the DKU. We've had like extraterrestrial pigs and the Greys and whatever Pluto Pants is. And we've had banana creatures. We've had banana birds. We've had banana fairies. Later on, Retro Studios would introduce banana sprites. But here we have a banana extraterrestrial. And not just a singular one. We visit his planet, Planet Plantain, which is such a great name, by the way. It like everything about Xananab slays.
It just feels so well thought out.
Well thought out, weird and perfect, and perfect for Donkey Kong. This is why Payon is revered. Even if people didn't like Barrel Blast, Payon like is still revered because they were able to hit such high marks. They got Donkey Kong in a way that few get Donkey Kong. So we visit Planet Plantain, which, by the way, is shaped like a banana. The planet itself is shaped like a banana. It's not spherical. It's banana-shaped. Mwah! Perfect. And we visit the other Plantainians? I don't know. We see the other ones of Xananap's kind. They're all banana creatures. Dustin, in the show notes, I've included some helpful screenshots for you of this wondrous meeting of Kongs and Plantainians. And what I love about the Plantainians is they're not just all replicated Xananaps. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. There are different races of Plantainians. We've got green Plantainians. And I imagine they're not seen, but that makes you wonder, are there red Plantainians? Are there blue Plantainians? How about purple Plantainians? All the DK64 colors.
Lanky can only talk to the blue Plantainians.
No, because I feel like the Plantainians don't have the bullshit segregation that Earthlings invented. That's arson. Don't put that on Plantainians.
Yeah, you can talk to any of them.
Plantainians are pretty much perfect, but you've got Plantainians with mustaches.
I love the mustache ones.
Dustin, these banana people can grow facial hair. How fucked up is that? I love it.
That's so good. It's just... I can't believe someone said, these bananas need mustaches. And I'm so glad they did.
Just everything about them. The fact that they're, like, they've got the peels, and their arms are made out of the peel, right?
It's so perfect.
But then they've got the little feet sticking out from the peels, and their feet and their legs are the banana, like the edible part of the banana itself.
Oh man,
yeah.
I love these creatures. I wish they would invade us.
Yeah, right? Like, we clearly don't know how to run this planet. Let's surrender to our Plantainian overlords. Because I've often
turn this shit around.
I've often said, look, we failed. It's time for the Planet of the Apes. But if we can't have the Planet of the Apes, let's get the planet of the things apes like to eat.
Yeah, that's it. The next best thing, right?
Right. The Planet Plantain is also so well thought out because it orbits or is very near a wormhole. Now, I talked about wormholes when I talked about Wizpig and his planet and how it relates to Timbers Island. Here, it's just established in a game. You go through the wormhole. Which, yes, please. I don't know if Planet Plantain actually orbits the wormhole, or if it's just right next to it, but it allows their kind to travel to Earth. It's just a wormhole that, boop, pops you out near Earth. And I love that little detail. They've got the banana-shaped spaceships. Everything is banana-shaped, right? Their house,
they gotta stay on brand.
Their houses are banana-shaped, which is funny, because, we don't have human-shaped domiciles.
I wish we did. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, because then, usually in, like, these big high-rises, I would imagine the top floors cost more money, right? But if you had a human-shaped high-rise, how much would it cost to live in the crotch?
It's in demand. Everyone always goes for the crotch first.
Everybody wants to live in the sweet, sweet nether regions. One other thing I'll say about the planet Plantain, just the general aesthetic, is that the sky is green. And it's just a little detail that the atmosphere of planet Plantain would not be identical to Earth. The conditions for the blue sky that we're familiar with aren't the same. And it just makes it feel alien and otherworldly in a way that you might forget. The fact that you're dealing with a civilization of banana beans, you might lose the fact that you're on an alien planet, because this is just the kind of weirdness that exists in a rare archipelago as it is. But no, we've got the green sky to help drive home. Donkey, Diddy, and Cranky are not on Earth right now. Right.
I love it. I think the green really brings the planet together.
As DJ Cat alluded to, and as apparently Karate Joey called in seasons and seasons ago, is there some sort of ancient alien link between the Plantainians and the rest of the banana creatures in the rare archipelago? I don't know how I feel about this. Just like you're a little bit mixed on some of the Jinjo theories of mine, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, if the planet Plantain and the Plantainians should be behind banana birds and banana fairies and the banana sprites. That might be too neat for me, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of feel like if that were to happen, like if there was that connection, I kind of feel like it would have come up earlier, I guess. Like someone would have thought about it. I mean, I guess that's silly to say the Plantainians didn't exist when DKC3 came out, but I kind of feel like Dixie and Kitty would ask, like, hey, where did you guys come from? Oh, we belong to a race of banana aliens.
Or is this a Jinjo and Gray situation? Were the banana birds the pets of the Plantainians, and they got out, and I don't know how I feel about that. There might be some sort of link combining, I've often thought about maybe there is this evolutionary link going way back between the banana birds, the banana fairies, and the banana sprites. Like maybe they have a common ancestor, and hey, maybe that common ancestor are the Plantainians. What are the Plantainians doing visiting Earth? Are they observing areas of dense banana growth? I don't know. What's going on with them? What are they doing? They're very friendly, but the Kremlings attack. Actually, the Kongs attack Xananab first, I guess. Right? It doesn't have how Jungle Climber starts.
I was reading up on it's been a long time since I played Jungle Climber, but I was reading the wiki for it, and I believe it said that the Plantainians or Xananab attacks first because he thinks they're Kremlings. Okay. And then the Kongs destroy their ship, and they're like, oh, it was just a big misunderstanding.
Big misunderstanding, yeah. I think the implication, though, is that Xananab has made many the trip to the rare archipelago.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, they got the wormhole for it.
So maybe, this is where bananas come from. Like, I'm not saying this is where banana birds necessarily came from. I'm saying this is where all bananas came from. This is where bananas originated from, the plant of plantain. They grew them initially on Earth, like, and that's where bananas originate from, at least as far as the DKU's understanding of it.
So you're saying bananas themselves, all the bananas in the Rare Archipelago, stem from the Plantanians?
I'm saying all bananas everywhere. Dustin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of bananas.
And that also makes you think, like, you know, whenever you buy a bunch of bananas at the grocery store, you're like,
I'll thank Xananab every time I buy bananas.
You know, all those stupid Joe Biden stickers people are putting on the gas pumps recently.
I hate
here
those.
In the States. Oh yeah, I ripped one off when I was pumping gas this morning, but it's him pointing at the price, saying I did this, which isn't how gas prices work, people. I know people don't bother looking into how things work, and they just
we know you think you're clever, but you're not.
But I was trying to rip it off, and they're so cheap, you know, they just rip in half when you try to rip them off. I was trying to preserve it because it's an idea that Jeff and I had was, what if you take one of these stickers and you put it somewhere innocuous, like on some produce in the grocery store. So what if you put
on
it on
a gallon of milk?
What if you put it on a bag of grapes and somebody looks at that and they're like, Joe Biden did the grapes? What does that mean?
Joe Biden did the grapes.
What does that mean? So what I really want to do is get a sticker of Xananab pointing, saying I did this, and I want to put them on all the bunches of bananas at the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's a nice one. That's not like trying to pin the blame on someone. That's just saying this person gave you, this banana alien gave you bananas. Isn't that great?
Right. I think
maybe then Xananab would get the respect he deserves.
I think this would start to bridge the massive political divide in this country.
That's true. We can all just join the banana party.
Right? Right. They will show us the way. We don't know where the planet Plantain exists, but the fact that it's adjacent to a wormhole, it could be anywhere in the galaxy. I do think it's in the galaxy. I don't think they're that far away, but it's probably some sort of distant corner where astronomers have never been able to observe that weird planet that's shaped like a banana.
Maybe someday. Humanity just isn't ready yet.
I'm ready. You're ready. I think most of our listeners are ready for it. But you're right. You're right. Yeah. It would shatter everybody's conception of what existence really is.
A living banana? I can't deal with this.
Hello to Gibbon, by the way, in the live stream.
Hello, Gibbon.
Hello, Gibbon. We're just talking about bananas.
Hashtag just banana things.
So, I said before that, like, Rare introduced most of the extraterrestrials in a DKU. We kind of leapfrogged over this because this is where things get complicated and massive. Because Rare didn't really introduce this. This was introduced by Nintendo, but then it kind of became grandfathered into the DKU thanks to the convoluted nature of their very last Nintendo console game's development. Yes, I'm talking, of course, about Dinosaur Planet. I'm talking about Star Fox Adventures. And I'm talking about the Lilat system. So, it's often overlooked, right? Because Star Fox games, Dustin, they don't really have contact with Earth in the Star Fox games.
That's true.
It's true. And so, just like when we're watching a Star War, we're not sitting here thinking, these are a bunch of space aliens. Like when I'm watching Luke Skywalker or Rey Skywalker, spoilers. Well, I guess the spoiler would be that she's a Palpatine, but or I'm watching The Mandalorian from off of The Mandalorian. Or I'm watching The Mandalorian from off of the Book of Boba Fett. Because, hey, where did Boba Fett go? Why is The Mandalorian? I am not thinking, wow, these are weird space aliens. I'm thinking, these are people. Because I don't have the context of them interacting with Earth. Or me, my existence. But the Lilat system, they're a bunch of space aliens. They're to us, they are space aliens. They are extraterrestrials. And the Lilat system is actually similar to Star Wars because here we have a very dense solar system filled with many of the planet, most of which are inhabited. It's like a fully colonized solar system full of many different species of sentient humanoid animals, I guess.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. On the edge of the Lilat system, there is also Saria, aka Dinosaur Planet. And that is full of extraterrestrials who very much resemble the dinosaurs of Earth's prehistoric period, albeit without feathers. They look more like the classic depiction of dinosaurs as we knew it before we all decided they probably had feathers. Let's stick feathers on them, even if they look stupid.
Ooh, Hyle not a fan of the feathered dinosaurs. Huh?
I mean, yeah, it's historically accurate, but they look stupid. We all preferred the way dinosaurs looked when we were kids, right? Let's just go, that's why I love Saria, because it provides an in-universe explanation for why dinosaurs can look correct.
Correct.
just yeah. But, yeah, the Lilat system, Dustin, what are your thoughts on the Lilat system? Grandfathered into the DKU, thanks to Star Fox Adventures, and that story continued in Star Fox Assault, Star Fox Command. But, Star Fox 2, Star Fox 64, Star Fox 0, all nebulously canon backstory, even if we don't acknowledge it as completely part of the DKU. What are your thoughts on, I guess, everything?
I want to say I like it, but I kind of feel like a lot of these planets we don't really get to know that much about. Like, you kind of get vague general ideas. But, Dinosaur Planet, or Saria, that's the one that you get a whole game around. That's the planet you really get to see, like, all the different parts of, the different ecosystems and different races on the planet. All the other planets on Star Fox, in the Star Fox series, are usually just there for the stage, and that's it. They're just set dressing. Yeah, they never really go into them, except for, Corneria. I guess that's it, but there's the name's not coming to me, but there's the lava planet in Star Fox 64. It's just a lava planet. You have the one that's underwater, but that's all you know. You don't really know anything about any civilizations on these planets. And so I like the idea of the Lilat system, but there really just isn't that much to connect with.
That's why I like Star Fox Assault. Star Fox Assault is my favorite traditional Star Fox game. And partly that's because you can get out on foot and walk around. And you feel like you get to spend more time in some of these environments. Like Corneria. There's the entire mission in Corneria City where the aperoids are attacking, and you get to like go out through the city, and you've got like the news station on the big monitor like reporting on the invasion, and it just feels very real and lived in and of the moment, and it feels like a real place. But you're right, like Saria, Dinosaur Planet, that is where we spend the most time, just because, you know, that's the only Star Fox game where you spend the entirety of it in one location, one planet. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just like the whole Lylat system is just a place devised for your sci-fi tropes through the prism of Nintendo. And originally, you know, Shigeru Miyamoto and his team, and then Rare, and then Namco, you know. But do you want to hear my theory, Dustin, on how the Lylat system does connect to Earth?
I would love to hear that, Hyle, which works out because I'm the one on this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it would be a shame if you said, I don't care about it. I don't want to hear
no. I just said, no, I'm not interested, and that's the end of that.
But let me ring up Steve McCorkle from off of Rare Gamer. Steve wants to hear your opinion. Let's get Steve in here while I go take a 5. So... this is a crackpot theory of mine that I've shared before. So why, if the Lylat system is full of extraterrestrials in their own like closed off solar system, how do they speak human language? Whether it be English or Spanish or French or Portuguese or whatever you're hearing them speak in your region, your language, how are they speaking it? And you're like, what are you talking about, Hyle? What the fuck are you talking about? It's translated for us. Don't be a dipshit. And I'm like, harsh,
I don't know if I would have said it in those exact words.
Here's the thing, Dustin, old friend. Star Fox 64, Falco has a derogatory insult when you accidentally shoot upon him, and he says, "Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side." Now, I don't know how familiar you are with the term of that colloquialism, that little Einstein reference there. You know, it's like, hey, genius, what are you doing? Well, Einstein was a real person. His name was Alfred Einstein. That's right. Look it up. He was a brilliant scientist. He invented gravity. Einstein existed in a time of war and strife called World War II. It's the 11th war that encompassed the entire world, Dustin. Right?
Right.
All right. So, my theory has always been they speak human languages in the Lylat system because they were picking up transmissions from Earth circa World War II.
Oh.
That's how Falco knows who Einstein is. And then they cracked these languages, right? Mm-hmm. And the military channels of the Lylat system, including the mercenaries, started using these languages as their own military code.
Interesting.
No, it's stupid, but...
You know, it's funny you bring that up, because I know this game in particular does not tie into the DKU, but in Star Fox 64 3D, the 3DS remake of it, they changed that line. He no longer says Einstein, he says, "Hey, genius, I'm on your side."
Yeah, they did change it, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened.
It already happened. You can't change the past.
You can't retcon. You can't just patch out Star Fox 64. It happened that way. So, sorry.
That's not how reality works.
I get to have fun with it now. Yeah. Of course, we've got like translators too. Then later on, Star Fox Adventures establishes translators, so the dinosaur language can be translated. So there's some wiggle room there, but I like to think that's why we hear them speak our languages, because they actually are. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I feel like you're jumping through hoops if you just say, well, obviously they wouldn't be speaking English. Obviously you can't have a actual person who's a rabbit and fox and bird. So I think you can suspend your disbelief and say they're speaking English.
No,
or can't. Japanese.
Or Japanese or whatever language, you speak and you're playing the game. But I can't suspend my disbelief. I need to come up with a rationale for it, so. And the Einstein thing was just like, once I made that connection, because when Star Fox Adventures came out, I spent many nights trying to piece together the lore and how it relates and make it all work. And once I went back to Star Fox 64 and I heard that, everything kind of clicked. I was like, oh my God, that's it. Because, Star Fox, the entire series has to take place in the past. Everybody thinks it's a futuristic thing, but no, it has to take place at the very least a few decades ago, because Tricky, when we meet him in 1997 in Diddy Kong Racing, he's an adult. He's just a little kid. He's just a little wad in
baby Twiki.
Star Fox Adventures, and then Star Fox Assault. He's like teenage Tricky.
Yeah.
So every Star Fox game is actually a prequel.
Yeah, that's so weird to think about, but it is the only way that makes sense with Diddy Kong Racing.
I mean, you could get into like, he went back in time through a wormhole, but let's not get stupid here. Let's not get crazy here, all right?
This is a serious conversation
with only serious ideas. Just we're thinkers. We're academics like Alfred Einstein.
We have real smart guy conversations about things like banana aliens.
So, anyway, that being said, there are some instances of the Lylat system interacting with planets outside of the Lylat system, and this is where things get curious. So, do you know what the planet of Serenia is, Dustin?
Not even slightly.
Serenia is the planet that Crystal comes from. Let me read you this excerpt from the Star Fox Adventures instruction manual. The only survivor of her doomed home planet of Serenia, Crystal roams the galaxy in search of answers. When a distress call takes her to a small planet in the Lylat system, Crystal suspects that she may finally be drawing closer to the truth.
Wow, it's just all right there for us the whole time.
Serenia is not in the Lylat system. Crystal has been roaming the galaxy in search of answers to what happened to her planet, and she arrives on Soria at the beginning of Star Fox Adventures. Now, what's interesting, too, is we can figure out what happened to Crystal's home planet. It's never spelled out in Star Fox Adventures, but when she sees, at the end of her playable segment, we get the Andros vision in the game, where Andros is kind of spying on the happenings, and everything's kind of green and hazy. His ghost is spying on things, because the plot of Star Fox Adventures is his ghost is trying to resurrect himself right?
Right.
And he's going to use the power of the Krazoa to do it. But when Crystal spots Andross's ghost before he attacks her and imprisons her in the crystalline structure, she says, "You!" As if, I know you.
I know who you are.
Yeah. So, also, Crystal seems to speak the Saurian language, which is interesting.
Yeah, because she's just arriving here at the beginning, right?
Yeah, and that's even spelled out in the instruction manual. And a lot of these are threads left over from when the game was Dinosaur Planet and there weren't Star Fox elements in it. And you know, so a lot of this probably just wasn't thought through by Rare as they were trying to race to the finish line to get this out in light of the buyout. But I think that there is some sort of connection between Serenia and Saria, despite them not even being in the same solar system. And it's clear that Andross knew of Serenia because Andross came to Serenia as a ghost and basically did a dry run of his Saria scheme, which might suggest there are even Krazoa elements on Serenia, which implies there's some sort of shared heritage and culture between the two. So maybe the Krazoa left the Lylat system, or some Krazoa left the Lylat system and went to Serenia, and you know that would also explain. Hey, there's also other fox-like creatures, humanoids on this other planet outside the Lylat system. Okay. Sure. Because in one alternate future, Fox and Crystal, they have a child together, so they're biologically compatible, right? Like as far as reproduction goes. So, I think like there's some sort of ancient alien shit happening with Serenia from the Lylat system, probably involving the Krazoa, and the Krazoa maybe brought different elements from the Lylat system to Serenia. Andross found out about it, and that's why he did his dry run on Serenia, which is how Crystal lost her planet, and then she went in search of answers, eventually found the Lylat system and Saria, and that takes us to the beginning of that game. But again, that all has to be inferred, because none of it is spelled out in the game, but it's the only thing that really makes sense.
It's so funny because I think you might be the only person on this planet to think of that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure even the people at Rare back in the day who made and worked on this game would just be staring at me right now like, you're an idiot.
What are you talking about?
Get away from me, you doo-doo eating weirdo. Like,
doo-doo. I do agree with you, though. This is the kind of stuff I like. You do infer just what little information you have. Like, before this, I never even thought about why Crystal would speak Saurian or be a fox creature. It is a very clean-cut explanation.
And of course, that you have to ignore the original lore of Dinosaur Planet, which some of it very clunkily just remained within Star Fox Adventures, and it was like, well, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to notice. Who cares?
Who cares? No one's going to talk about this on a podcast in 20 years.
Well, guess what? I noticed.
Joke's on you.
This is why I do feel like a lot of people at Rare hate me.
No.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Some of them are very polite and kind about it, but behind the scenes, I'm sure they despise everything I do.
Can you believe this guy talking about Star Fox Adventures?
There's also, in Star Fox Assault, there are the aporoids, the insectoid kind of hive mind that also come from outside the Lylat system and invade the Lylat system. It's a extra system invasion, and we don't really know where they come from, but we do visit the aporoid home planet at the end of the game. They use the orbital gate that Slippy's dad, Benito,
Beltino.
Beltino. Benito was Mussolini, who was an ally of the Nazis, like Himmler. All right. So, Beltino, that's right. Benito Mussolini Toad, Slippy's father, kept the orbital gate. You know, he was an awful man, but he kept the orbital gates running on time, so.
he was a frog. You gotta give him that. That gets him some extra points.
A frog with a little mustache.
Yeah, how can you hate that? You could be the worst person on the planet, and I'd be like, but look at his little mustache.
I really want Beltino and the mustachioed Plantanians to like host a grooming show on YouTube, like facial hair grooming. You know,
they keep theirs so tidy and neat. I feel like people would benefit from it.
Meanwhile, I shave and I get ingrown hairs all the time, and I'm like, fuck. How does Beltino Toad do it?
He makes it look so easy.
How do those dapper bananas at the end of Jungle Climber get away with it? I know I shouldn't compare myself. It's not healthy.
Yeah, but you know, it's hard when you see such perfection.
Yeah. I want to see the same perfection when I stare in the mirror.
I gotta have that perfect Beltino face.
So again, we don't know where the Aperoids come from, where their home planet is from, what system it exists in, just that the Aperoids could reach it. I think the Aperoids just go to system and devour everything, assimilate, like the Borg from off of Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
And have you played Star Fox Assault?
Oh boy, have I. I've played it multiple times.
Really?
The Idaho crew did a stream of Star Fox Assault. We did finish the game,
That's right.
It went multiple hours after our normal cutoff time.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. I'm not as in love with it, but I do like it a lot. I feel like it gets maybe. I feel like both it and Star Fox Adventures kind of get the shaft in terms of the Star Fox fandom. Maybe that's totally wrong, but I never see anyone really talk about Star Fox Assault, and if they are, rarely in a positive light. But I like it. I think it's a fun game.
Yeah, it's us. It's usually us who go on about. And we've claimed it as part of the Dinosaur Planet trilogy, so it is kind of, we just like, it's like we got it in the divorce with the Star Fox fandom, and it's...
Look, you guys can reboot the series, do your Star Fox Zero, but we get to keep these ones.
We get to keep these three, that's fine, and the shared backstory of the earlier ones, sure. So, the Aperoids, of course, they as Cameron Regal put it so succinctly, they curb stomped Dinosaur Planet. They did a number on it, and it's kind of tragic. They wiped out quite a few dinosaurs. Like, they didn't cause any extinction level events, but they did such a number on it. And like off screen, they killed Tricky's parents.
No.
King and Queen Earthwalker in Star Fox Adventures. They die off screen in Star Fox Assault, and Tricky becomes Earthwalker King. Tricky does appear in Star Fox Assault, as I said, he's a teenager, and weirdly enough, he sounds like the midway point between Kev Bayless in Star Fox Adventures and Kev Bayless in Diddy Kong Racing doing Tricky's voice. It's weird. I don't know if the voice actor studied the way Kev Bayless sounded in Star Fox Adventures and just aged it up, and of course it would sound closer to Kev Bayless in Diddy Kong Racing, but it's just amazing how that works for our purposes, making the claim that Tricky in Diddy Kong Racing is the same Tricky in Star Fox Adventures. And Namco's Star Fox Assault is the one that really helps bridge the divide.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love stuff like that, especially nowadays when Star Fox just wants to reboot itself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I really like that you have a game that shows progress in this world. It builds off of what came before. Surprisingly, not a common occurrence in the Star Fox series.
Yeah, I love the way the Dinosaur Planet trilogy unfolds, and I know people don't like where Command took the cast. Just the weird relationship that Fox and Crystal ultimately ended up having, and I agree that game made some choices that, but the first two at the very least. And look, I applaud Star Fox Command. I think Star Fox Command. Anybody who says it should be thrown out of continuity, they're just cowards. They just you know what? Suck it up.
Yeah, I mean, I also get it because it is very complicated with all these endings, but you can just pick one. You can just pick one of the endings to make canon.
Multiverse, every action leads to the creation of a new reality. The hero falls time. Like, this is Zelda fans do it all the time. Eat my ass.
Exactly.
Eat my butthole. If you think this is too hard. Anyway, the Aperoids, they do a number on Saria. Tricky becomes Earthwalker King. Do you remember at the end of Star Fox Adventures when Tricky said that he wanted to explore the stars?
Oh, how could I forget?
Yeah, that's an important line. So, what happens? How does King Tricky help rebuild Saria? Well, considering in the span of a year and a half, they have the Sharpclaw Uprising, General Scales Rebellion, and the planet breaking apart. And then, after that, they have the Aperoid invasion and near annihilation of their kind. Tricky's like, we're out of here. So,
this planet's cursed.
Tricky leads an interstellar exodus of Saurians. Now, not all Saurians leave the planet, but Tricky leaves, and he leaves with a whole arc full of Saurians, and they eventually arrive. Where? To the planet Earth. Where? The Rare Archipelago. And so I said that Diddy Kong Racing introduced our first extraterrestrial in WizPig, but little did we know that it also introduced covertly other extraterrestrials like Tricky. And all of the dinosaurs we see in Dino Domain, they are actually Saurians. That pterodactyl you see flying around the volcano, that's a cloud runner.
Our beloved yellow dinosaur.
Yeah, absolutely. And this also retroactively means that the dinosaurs in Pterodactyl Land on the Isle of Hags, Saurians. The dinosaurs seen in the Conqueror's Bad Fur Day prehistoric chapters, Saurians. That's right. In fact, there are no living dinosaurs in the Rare Archipelago that aren't Saurians. The closest we've come are the resurrected fossils in Donkey Kong Country Returns, which were revived by the Tiki Tek tribe magic. Those are actually native Earthling dinosaur fossils. They are not Saurians. Yeah.
That is interesting that of all the series, Donkey Kong is the one that is not affected. Like the one that actually is still owned by Nintendo.
Yeah. But I love that because it's actually set up with Tricky's whole story in his two Star Fox appearances. And it just works. And then, of course, Rare cheekily confirmed it on Twitter many years back, which, you can go, I think, halfway with that stuff. Like, every joke they make can't be held as canon, but if it suits our purposes, yes, it's canon.
Whatever makes it easiest for us.
So my question, before we move on from the Lilat system, and we start getting into the more nebulas, is that's good wordplay.
Hey, look at Hyle over here.
Might not have great facial hair, but I know how to. I know how to turn a phrase.
You can play a word, as they say.
Yeah, they do say in those bananagrams from the planet Plantain.
Bananagrams. Are they the most adorable race of aliens?
No, Bananagram is it's like a Scrabble game. You get it in the little
Oh,
banana.
I didn't know that. I thought that was just your little funny thing for the Plantanians.
They come in the little banana pouches.
Those.
Yeah, I hate it. It sucks. Just play Scrabble. But
just play Scrabble. You don't need the bananas.
It's just easier. So, Wizpig. Wizpig's planet. We don't know where it's located. Is it possible the Lilat system could be where Wizpig is from? Because, hey, we've seen pigs in the Lilat system. Pigma Dengar, one of the best characters, I think, in all of human fiction. Pigma Dengar. Is it possible Wizpig is from the Lilat system originally? I don't think so, personally. I think there might just be parallel evolution going on, but I don't dismiss it outright.
Yeah, I mean, this is another instance where if you told me this is how it worked, I'd be like, okay, cool, fine, I can buy that. But I don't know, Wizpig and Pigma just seem so different.
I mean, they're both brutish pigs who hurl insults and call people worms, right?
That's true, but one is a wizard.
One is a wizard, but hey, look, like, if somebody were to line you up, Dustin, and they were to put Gandalf and Dumbledore next to you, and okay, let's say you also had a big gray beard, like you went to you went to Spirit Halloween or Party City, and you bought a big gray beard, and you lined up next to Gandalf and Dumbledore, and nobody would be saying like, well, yeah, but he's not a wizard. They'd be like, oh yeah, they all look like
he just has the beard.
Yeah, the first thing they would say when they look at the three of you would be, they all come from the same planet. That would be the absolute first thing they would say. Guaranteed.
Look at all three of these bros from the same planet.
Yeah, clearly from the same solar system. So I'm not dismissing it outright, especially Dustin. I'm gonna tweak your nipples here. Tweak your golden nipples.
It's about time.
Remember that wormhole I mentioned that's above Timbers Island where you can see Wizpig's planet from it?
That's right. I do remember.
How did the Saurians get to Earth?
Oh my goodness.
How did they
saying
how did they arrive
from that wormhole?
How did they arrive right over Timbers Island?
Oh my good golly goodness.
And let's see, when if Wizpig opened that wormhole in 1947, that was 2 years after World War II. Is that wormhole maybe how they got the transmissions so readily from Earth, where they learned about Einstein? And I don't know, just spitballing ideas here.
Wow, I didn't realize. Did you plan this out? Did you plan out this whole episode? That's what a coincidence.
No, Dustin, I've wasted my life.
You wish you only studied this up for the episode. You've been studying this up for years and years.
So Gibbon, in the live stream, says, what about the Bapham Dads from off of Star Fox Adventures? What about them?
I like them. I like their name.
Is she implying that there might be some sort of link with Globos?
They are magical creatures with big ol' ears.
Yeah, but I think there can be magical creatures with big ol' ears just evolving naturally on planets. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to like sprinkle them from the same source across the stars.
Spread the seeds around. Yeah, I mean, Globos don't really look like Bapham Dads, and their purposes are a little different. I guess that's magic. I guess bringing someone back to life is something Globos help do.
So, recently, we had Battletoads enter the DKU with the most recent game, Battletoads 2020. And, of course, this is an entire game that takes place in space.
This is all Oops All Aliens.
Oops, all aliens, yeah. And this is a very, like, exaggerated kind of Rick and Morty kind of take on outer space. But, yeah, Dustin, you were on the Battletoads First Impressions episode we did.
That was my first Kongversation.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Like, this is almost, like, too fresh in my mind. I don't have any grand theories about the Battletoads and all of the alien scene therein. But do you have any thoughts on this?
Not even slightly. Like, like, I feel like in terms of this alien world being part of the DKU, I just think it's a totally different system. I guess it's not the Lilat system.
Oh, it's definitely not the Lilat system. I'm not even making that case. Like but like everything with the Topians and
there are pigs. There are pigs here.
There are pigs, yeah, but it seems like it's its own kind of insulated spacefaring culture that hasn't really touched or brushed up upon the Lilat system or Planet Plantain. And for good reason, like they're not gonna like reference Planet Plantain in the Lala and Rare's 2020 game Battletoads, but you know,
you can't win them all.
No, I was disappointed.
They do live in a system where they got Sea of Thieves, though.
Well, yeah.
Unless the convention, Rash could have just came to Earth for the convention.
That's what I think. Yeah, because the Battletoads have come to Earth, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like they know of Earth. They can reach Earth, but they stay. We don't know what this system is called. I think is it a solar system, or are they jumping from solar system to solar system?
I'm not sure. It's been a bit since I played it. I think it's just one solar system, but that could be totally wrong.
Because there is a shared language and writing, and you know. So now, why are they? Why are they speaking English?
Oh, I just want to say, it's cool. I really like the Battletoads being aliens. Like, to us, they would be aliens. To them, they're not aliens. But imagine a ship comes down from the sky. You're going to make first contact with extraterrestrial life. And they're a bunch of radical toads. They say, "What's up, guys? Let's play some video games and have some adventures."
Yeah. Either that
That'd be great.
Either that or the bananas, I think, would be the ideal first contact with an extraterrestrial race.
Yeah, because the ones from Banjo-Tooie wanted to destroy the planet. The only reason they didn't was it their laser was jammed, or they left it at home?
They didn't come to destroy the planet, right?
But they were going to.
Alf just got agitated because it took them so long.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he was just like going to destroy it on a whim, and then they misplaced the laser is back on the ship, so he was just like, oh well,
whatever.
Yeah,
though that doesn't strike me as aliens I would like to interact with.
Well, I know that actually, like, I think ties into the way Greys are reported, you know, as being, if you believe they are real, and that's, you know, dicks.
I like that one of them likes Jinjos. That's cool. That's a relatable trait, but I don't necessarily think I would want to interact with aliens who just say, "Oh, you took a little too long. Well, we'll just destroy you." Whatever. That doesn't sound like cool people. They're dicks, like you said.
Well, but then again, the one who liked Jinjos was the child. So, just like with humans, there's hope for the future in the youth.
Exactly.
The older generations, we pretty much have to write off.
That's just Grandpa. He's from a different time when destroying the Earth was okay.
So yeah, I'm going to be like ruminating a little bit more on Battletoads and their place in the cosmology of the interstellar community that is the DKU. But then again, like, who knows? Yeah, who knows when we will see that take on the Battletoads again, or if ever. So it's, you know, But
I
it's,
hope so.
it's still cool that we got that glimpse of, and you know, kind of a well thought out take on life, a more comedic take on life in another solar system. So
Right.
another more recent DKU vintage of alien life doesn't really count because I'm talking about Yooka-Laylee's Galleon Galaxy. Now, Galleon Galaxy is, yes, full of extraterrestrials, but there's kind of an asterisk next to it because it's accessed via the Grand Tome of Galleon Galaxy in Ivory Towers, created, written, conceived by the Ghost Writers, basing it on sci-fi conventions and our understanding of them. So, yes, Shell and the Blamphibians, they're extraterrestrials, but they were created to be extraterrestrials.
Right. It's kind of like Log creating the worlds in nuts and bolts. Even if it's like this outer space world, it's technically not because it's a book.
It's a world within a world. It's a world within our world, I guess. And
yeah.
So it's I think they have more agency than like just saying like Log did it or Log made us act this way. They have independence, they have free will, and like to the Blamphibians and to Shell, their war is very real. I mean, it matters, right? Even if they were created by the Ghost Writers, that ultimately doesn't matter for them at that point because they are still real living beings. Like we might have been created by a space octopus, Dustin. Doesn't really matter to us. We're still doing a podcast about aliens in the Donkey Kong universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in our world, this would not be considered outer space.
No, and so actually they're not extraterrestrials. They are terrestrial. They're maybe interdimensionary, but even that, I know some people's interpretation of the Grand Tomes is you're actually hopping dimensions. I think they are self-contained worlds within the books. So yeah, and maybe they have they can sprawl infinitely that realm, and Galleon Galaxy almost implies that if they are different planets, but who knows? Who knows?
Who can say?
Yeah. And finally, but before we get into the DKU adjacent rare games that I know, DJ Cat wanted us to talk about, I do want to bring up, this is a bit of a cheat, but Sea of Thieves. Some people really want alien stuff in Sea of Thieves, and I think that would be a little rubbish. A
little bit of a step too far, I think.
A little sus,
hey,
as the youth says. But here's the thing: occasionally, when you play Sea of Thieves, you look into the night sky, you will see what looks to be aerial phenomena, like a light darting across the sky unnaturally. Ooh. And usually this is just visual bugs. This is usually nothing actually put in the game by Rare. This is just things not rendering correctly. But from my perspective, I like to write it off as unidentified flying objects because actually in the history of seafaring and the age of exploration, sailors all the time reported stuff like this. So I think it is within the realm of tropes and history and legends that Sea of Thieves draws from to have similar sightings like that. So just like I'm a big proponent of things like Grand Theft Auto putting, UFOs in the game, I think Rare should put the very, very rare, infrequent UFO sightings in the game.
I agree. I love that Bigfoot in GTA.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not in GTA, but I
No, I know what
wish
you
it
mean.
was.
I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Like, I was all about that. Grand Theft Auto was San Andreas. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
all about that urban legend. I love games that have urban legends. And I think Sea of Thieves should have more of them, you know? So,
Same.
yeah.
It's just like in real life. I want to believe Bigfoot exists. I want to believe there's stuff like this even in video game worlds.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of like lowering the bar, though. Like, oh, I really want Sasquatch to exist. But if I can't have that, I really want Sasquatch to exist in the game where I go around murdering people.
That one's perfectly possible.
So we do need to discuss some DKU adjacent rare games. Rare games we don't classify as DKU for our well-established criteria, but possibly do exist within the shared rare universe anyway. Games like Killer Instinct, games like Perfect Dark, games like Jet Force Gemini. So, as DJ Cat mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Glacius from Killer Instinct, the Icicle Man, is actually an alien. And actually, there are two Glaciuses, right? Glacii. The one in Killer Instinct 2 is a separate one from the first one, if I'm not mistaken, but it gets convoluted.
I'm actually not sure. I gotta be honest, I love Rare, but Killer Instinct's kind of a blind spot for me. I'm just not good at those games, so I never really delved into them.
I'm terrible at them, too. And I remember getting the first Killer Instinct and thinking how scary the Robin Beanland music was. Like, it was intimidating. It was just like, oh shit. I'm gonna be slaughtered here by these.
This ain't your daddy's video game.
These scary monsters are gonna murder me. And that's when Rare released their 35th anniversary like soundtrack, like the digital collection, and they had the Killer Instinct theme on it. I like, it took me right back. I was like, oh yeah, I remember how like creeped out I was by Robin Beanland's music for this game. Mostly,
you let out a little scream once it took you back. You went ah.
There was the bee orchid theme that just sounds like orgasming, like but you know, yeah. Anyway,
scary stuff.
Yeah. There's also Elvis in Perfect Dark. Now this is interesting because Elvis is undoubtedly supposed to be a gray.
Yeah, he's 100%.
Yeah, if Elvis does exist in the shared rare universe, that would mean Elvis is actually probably the same kind of extraterrestrial being as the aliens in Banjo-Tooie.
That's awesome. I'm all for it.
Well, Kazooie even makes reference, like, is one of you named Elvis? And it's funny because at the time that game came out, I wasn't thinking about Perfect Dark. I was thinking about the urban legend that Elvis didn't just fake his death. Elvis went to live with the aliens.
That would make a great premise for a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that would ever win any major awards.
Hyle earned the right to brag on that one.
Yeah, my Emmy sitting here in my very cramped office for dedicated to Donkey Kong journalism.
Yeah, I like Elvis a lot. Perfect Dark is another one that I'm just not a big FPS fan, so I never really played it that much, but when I did, I liked Elvis a lot. Elvis is a great character. His design's fun. His voice is fun. Yes, that's kind of voice like this. Kind of Yoda-y.
Yeah, before Yoda got old. Like,
back when Yoda was cool.
No, I feel like the Star Wars prequels, especially 2 and 3, they ruined the Yoda speech for me.
Oh, they just did it too much. It's been a long time since I've
seen them.
They did
it too much, and they spammed it. They spammed it into the ground. Like, if you watch Empire Strikes Back, Yoda doesn't always do the Yoda speech for every sentence.
Yeah, he says there is no try.
Yeah, yeah. And then in the prequels, he just does it for every sentence. Just like the way the prequels also whip out the lightsabers way too much. Just like, we get it. Lightsabers. Yoda speech.
Well, you know, Hyle, Yoda man.
Yoda man, dog. So yeah, and by the way, Elvis is one of the Fangamer plushes too.
What a good choice.
Yeah, I don't own it because I only own the DKU ones, but still, it's cool to see they made it.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went with the... it looks much closer to the N64 model, the original one, than it does the remaster model, which kind of threw me off because I only ever played the Xbox version. So you go back and look at old Elvis, and he's just so basic.
Oh yeah, old Elvis was basic. Old Elvis was basic, always eating his peanut butter and banana sandwiches, sitting on his toilet.
That made him relatable. We all do all those things.
And Jet Force Gemini. We have to bring up Jet Force Gemini.
Love Jet Force Gemini. Well, I like Jet Force Gemini. Love is a strong word with that game.
Does Jet Force Gemini take place in the future? Like, what the hell? What the hell is Jet Force?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. There's some theories going around that it's a stealth sequel to the Jetman series. But that's just that's never like come up in the game.
Yeah,
that's just a headcanon. But yeah, Jet Force is fun. That's all about aliens.
One of my biggest gripes with this era of Rare, in which, Rare, in my eyes, in my young, impressionable eyes, that were replaced by alien eyes, by the aliens who abducted me.
Of course.
They could do no wrong normally, but in one way they slipped up was they didn't make Jet Force Gemini DKU.
Yeah, I wish we were talking about it on the podcast today.
Because, the proportions, the characters, I feel like they would have fit. As well as something like Grab by the Ghoulies fits,
Yeah. You have the tribals, just this little race of alien bears.
The tribals, yeah, the tribals in particular, they're what my mind is drawn to, because I think of the tribals. I'm like, yeah, they would be a cute DKU race species, they would fit right in. But when Gobi in Banjo-Kazooie said, "I'm off to the lava world," that could have meant many things. But for a brief window of time, I was looking at screenshots of Jet Force Gemini and Nintendo Power, seeing lava worlds, and thinking, oh my god, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna put Gobi in Jet Force Gemini.
Obviously.
Didn't pan out, and
I honestly, things didn't work out with Gobi's lawyers.
I tried Jet Force Gemini, and I've never been able to get into it. This is I
get that.
I want to get into it. I really do. I can't. I don't know. It just doesn't click with me. I've tried.
I think of all the Rare games that could use a full-on remake, it would be Jet Force Gemini. I think is the one that could most use it.
So I would love to sit here and talk about my great Jet Force Gemini theories, but I don't really have them because it's never been a game like Blast Corps. It's never been a game that's resonated with me, and I feel like people at Rare also hate me because I don't talk about Blast Corps enough. And it's just because I've never really gotten into it. Sorry.
Oh, Hyle. I'll save my shame for after the podcast. I won't publicly put you on blast here in front of everybody.
You won't put me on Core either.
You know what? You're back in my good books now.
I don't know if you can see it, and you can't, because why could you? This is an audio-only podcast, but I'm squeezing my nipple right now.
Nothing gets Hyle more aroused than Rare-themed wordplay.
It's not even an arousal thing. It's just, when I was like, I need to tell myself I just did a good job. I just made something funny. And the only way I can feel anything anymore, Dustin, is if I give my nipple a hard tweak.
I get that. Yeah, your fingers were in the neighborhood. Thought they'd drop on in.
You know, just a close encounter of my kind.
Wow! 'Cause aliens.
So, wrapping it all up in a nice, tidy probe, does the cosmos of the DKU, does it all add up to a cohesive whole? No, not really. No. But look, when you look at it, neither do the extraterrestrials of other far more concrete and dedicated shared universes without the legal hurdles of the DKU. Look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That has all manner of extraterrestrials running around, and based on the ones from Marvel Comics, but you know, there's not a lot of consistency or thought put into that, I would argue. Star Trek, the same way. It's just like, wait, all that extraterrestrial race has forehead ridges, and they have slightly different forehead ridges. And what? How does evolution work here? Honestly, like real UFO, quote unquote real, depending on your mileage, real UFO lore. It's also weird because you got greys, you've got reptilians, which are like basically Kremlins without the snouts. You've got like giant like Vikings. That's a thing. It's weird. It's stupid. You got bird people. You know about the bird people, Dustin? Look up the bird people. There are fucking falcos out there, according to the ufologist. Bird people, they're gonna come through your window and peck your eyes out.
Oh, what do they have to gain from this?
And you know what? I bet it was the fucking bird people that I saw back in the day. I bet it wasn't even the greys or something cool and creepy like the reptilians. I bet it was the fucking bird people. Fuck my life.
You look like a little worm to them.
Yeah, I know. Early bird gets the worm, and that was me.
I always thought you had some worm-like qualities.
And yeah, there haven't been really any explicit connections made between the various DKU alien races. But you know what? That's okay, because that's part of the fun. That's where we get to come in and help draw the connections between maybe Wizpig and the Lilat system and the Saurians. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff I honestly live for. And that's why I've been with DK Vine for as long as I have, and why I've done the Kongversation for 10 years now and plan to do it until I die. And even when I die, Dustin, I'll find a way to communicate to all of you via some supernatural spookery. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait.
We've been looking forward to it.
The Kongversation season 120 gonna be weird when I like do my episodes through blood dripping down the walls.
Yeah, it'll be hard to. We're gonna have to really listen close to the way it drips.
Yeah, it's gonna be in Morse code.
Oh shit! I gotta be honest, Hyle. I might stop listening at that point.
It's gonna be your blood dripping down too, buddy.
You're right. I've been roped into this.
I don't know how long you're planning on living.
Oh, I was planning on living a while, but I guess we'll see. You know what? Maybe when you die, I'll just be like, you know what? That's fine. I'll end it here too, and then I can join Hyle in this. He can't do this show alone.
No, I'm just saying. I don't see you living another 110 years. Maybe you'll surprise me. Maybe you've got it in you. The world's oldest man, Dustin Jackson.
I don't know. I really like cheeseburgers.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I know we're all thinking it. We don't know what gray meat tastes like. Like if you were to grill up a gray alien, what would it taste like? We don't know. But all of us, every single person listening to this podcast, whether it be the voracious gobblers of pig, or those who prefer the creamy treat of the banana, we can all say we've tasted the sweet, sweet flesh of at least one DKU alien. Which in these dark days is my hopeful message for humankind. Good night.
This has been a File 2 production.
I made this.